Chapter 715. Qin Wushuang's expression changed as he said to the two chiefs, "Chief, I will go out for a moment. You guys cooperate with me. Open a defense mechanism for me, and let me go around it to attack their rear. As long as I go around those Supreme Dao elite warriors and attack their rear, certainly I can disrupt their deployment. After I succeed in the sneak attack, I will return from the defense mechanism. You guys watch the time and open the defense mechanism after I come in. How about it?" Attack the enemy's rear? Qin Yunran and Qin Chongyang exchanged a glance. Although the suggestion was somewhat risky, it was much safer and feasible than attacking the Supreme Dao elite warriors directly. There was no time to lose. If they allowed the enemy to attack like this, certainly they would lose at least 3 or 4 of the 7 defenses. Regardless of how experienced Qin Chongyang was, he knew that he must do something at this moment. He nodded. "All right, second, you take charge of this place. I will go to the side defense mechanism and send Wushuang out secretly. I will let him attack their rear." He turned around and said to Qin Wushuang, "Wushuang, it's easy to let you go, but you must promise me that you will not linger in battle. Once the Supreme Dao elite warriors turn around and attack you, you will have no chance to survive." Qin Wushuang nodded solemnly. He took a deep breath and promised, "Third Chief, I know this, don't worry. I will not throw away my precious life." When Qin Chongyang saw that Qin Wushuang was acting this relaxed before a great battle, indeed his mentality was stable enough. Such great battle-type talent was what the Qin clan needed. "Second, I will leave this place to you for now. This front defense mechanism is extremely important. You must not let your emotions affect your decisions," Qin Chongyang instructed. Qin Yunran laughed. "Don't worry, I know." Qin Chongyang said to Qin Wushuang, "Wushuang, come with me." Qin Wushuang revealed a slight smile and cupped his hands in a salute to everyone. "Everyone, wait for my good news." After he finished speaking, he tapped with the tip of his toe and followed behind Qin Chongyang at a fast speed. Honored warrior Ji Huai watched Qin Wushuang act with such magnanimity and calmness. Inwardly, he also felt bursts of shame. Upon thinking of his attitude towards Qin Wushuang, honored warrior Ji Huai felt that he had lived these few hundred years in vain. He had made up his mind that if the Qin clan could survive this crisis, he would definitely apologize to Qin Wushuang and personally go to the human countries to bring Qin Yu's remains back to the sacrificial valley. When they arrived at the entrance of a prohibition on the side, Qin Chongyang said to Qin Wushuang, "Wushuang, these prohibitions are interlocked. Opening any one of them is not enough to let you out, nor is it enough to let you in. You have to open at least 3 restrictions before you can walk out of here. But don't worry, as long as you enter the first restriction on the way back, you will be absolutely safe." Since the other party had chased after them, it was impossible for them to break the restriction immediately. "I'll open the restrictions for you later. There's plenty of time. But you must remember, don't continue to fight. If you continue to fight, you may be surrounded. At that time, the second sect master and I will not be able to save you." Once again, Qin Wushuang revealed a confident smile. He made a hand gesture and said with rapt attention, "Third Chief, let's start, we need time." Quietly, Qin Chongyang took Qin Wushuang to break 3 restrictions. He pointed to a transportation channel and said to Qin Wushuang, "When you go out from this channel, you can go directly to the right side. That place is the road to the ascending dragon slope. You should be familiar with the terrain." Qin Wushuang said with a smile, "Then there's no problem. Watch me." Like a swimming fish, Qin Wushuang entered the channel and floated out like a cool breeze. When he came to the right side, Qin Wushuang hid and observed. It was about 30 to 40 miles away from the main battlefield. After a moment of thinking, Qin Wushuang summoned the 2 strongest spiritual beasts at the peak of the common mysterious stage from the sealed scroll. "You two, the great battle is here. Are you interested in fighting with me?" "Master, where is the enemy?" "Haha, let's fight, let's fight. If we don't fight, I'll be bored waiting." Qin Wushuang explained the situation and emphasized, "You two, I dare to summon you because your innate ability is very powerful. Catching people off guard, it can cause a lot of damage. However, you have to promise me that you will not continue to fight. Listen to my command and be ready to return to the seal at any time. You must return before the Supreme Tao elite warriors react, understand? Understood. Qin Wushuang made a hand gesture and pointed to the battle circle in the distance. I have seen that the Supreme Tao elite warriors are all gathered together. The main force behind them is 20 to 30 at the peak of the common mysterious stage. Don't provoke them. In addition, all the enemies are your food. Kill as many as you can. But the premise is that you must listen to my command. Once the command is given, immediately retreat without delay. Yes. Qin Wushuang took a deep breath again. With a graceful spiritual bow in hand, he said in a low voice, "Let's go." The two spiritual beasts at the peak of the common mysterious stage followed behind Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang used the cloud garment feathery technique and floated in quickly. The other party still did not notice him. This time, the team led by the Heavenly Emperor Xian clan was about 1,000 people. At least, they were elite warriors at the profound Void Martial stage. Most of them were at the perfect Void Martial stage, and some were even at the exquisite mysterious boundary stage. Indeed, they displayed astonishing power. Qin Wushuang attached himself to the cloud and sent his spiritual perception. Look, the Supreme Tao elite warriors are at the front of the defense entrance. This has caused a disconnect between their team. This disconnect is our only chance to attack. Remember, there's only one wave of attack. Regardless of how many you can kill, you must retreat. The two spiritual beasts at the peak of the common mysterious stage rubbed their fists and were eager to give a try. Qin Wushuang took out all 9 shooting sun arrows. Murderous intentions flashed in his eyes as he secretly accumulated his temperament. This time, his target was those elite warriors at the peak of the common mysterious stage. These 20 or 30 people were the elite warriors of each sect besides the Supreme Tao elite warriors. If he could kill a group of them at once, it would be a great blow to the enemy's morale. Go! Following Qin Wushuang's order, the two spiritual beasts at the peak of the common mysterious stage trembled and threw themselves down from the sky. Instantly, they had urged their temperament to the extreme. Inherited secret technique, Swallowing Sky. Swallowing Sky, Lion Dragon opened his bloody mouth and roared. Instantly, the powerful swallowing power formed a giant whirlpool of air and turned the entire sky upside down. The dark mysterious snake was not willing to fall behind. He swung his giant body and smashed down with his tail like a whip of judgment. He opened his mouth. Innate divine skill, poisonous fangs. Like a sudden clap of thunder on the flat ground, the two murderous gods charged out suddenly and instantly formed a gigantic destructive power behind the enemy. Instantly, the Swallowing Sky sucked in a dozen elite warriors at the Void Martial stage mercilessly. The whip of the dark mysterious snake also swept down a dozen of them. Each of them died with broken bones. The most terrifying part was that poisonous fangs that transformed into countless poisonous fangs that danced in the air. They would bite anyone they saw, and they would die as soon as they were bitten. The absolute destructive power of the Swallowing Sky Lion Dragon was not any less than the dark mysterious snake. His body kept expanding, and as he waved his fangs and claws, he killed people as easily as hunting rabbits. In the blink of an eye, a few dozen people had lost their lives. With the chaos at the rear, the camp immediately became chaotic. Those elite warriors at the exquisite mysterious boundary stage all turn around, especially those at the peak of the common mysterious stage. When they saw the divine beasts of the same level attacking, they formed an encirclement consciously and kept rushing over. When the Supreme Tao elite warriors in the distance saw that it was only 2 spiritual beasts at the peak of the common mysterious stage, they did not care. Instead, they concentrated on dealing with the defenses of the Qin clan. At this moment, a figure glided in the sky. A glittering golden arc in his hand dashed over against the wind. An arrow. A glittering golden arrow. It was faster than a shooting star and more urgent than lightning. 1 bolt. 2 bolts, 3 bolts, 9 bolts. Like 9 stars in a row, the 9 golden arrows formed a terrifying attack whirlpool. Instantly, it formed a powerful attack circle. The power of one arrow was enough to kill a Supreme Tao elite warrior. The attack circle formed by the 9 arrows in a row was even more powerful than Qin Wushuang had imagined. Boom! The powerful golden lights intertwined together. With just one twist, instantly the golden lights seemed to have formed thousands and tens of thousands of sharp blades to cut together. Instantly, it enveloped the dozen elite warriors at the peak of the common mysterious stage. Boom! The golden lights exploded. Suddenly, lights shot in all directions. The golden lights seemed to have shot out countless fragments. The 9 shooting sun arrows flew back with spirituality. Qin Wushuang caught them. At the place where the ball of light exploded, the dozen elite warriors at the peak of the common mysterious stage did not even leave behind their bones. They were completely squeezed in a fine powder by this powerful golden light. Those 8 or 9 warriors at the peak of the common mysterious stage who had dashed at a slower speed also kept vomiting blood when they were swept by the fragments of the golden lights. Incredibly terrified, they retreated in a panic and kept shouting in fear. Qin Wushuang laughed and called out, "Retreat." He called out the sealed scroll, and 2 bursts of lights covered the 2 spiritual beasts. Those 2 guys were in the mood to kill. At least hundreds of people had died under their innate divine skills, yet they still did not feel satisfied. However, under the call of Qin Wushuang, they had to transform into meteoric lights and rush back into the sealed scroll. Qin Wushuang did not linger as he gave a long whistle and chanted, "Those who help the villain do evil. Those who help the Exian clan, the Qin clan will destroy their entire family. No empty words." Inwardly, Qin Wushuang felt extremely gratified. Such slaughter had increased his confidence. Instantly killing a dozen elite warriors at the peak of the common mysterious stage, without a doubt, this achievement had greatly surpassed his level at the Illusion Heavenly Lake. Of course, all of this had benefited from this graceful spiritual bow. This graceful spiritual bow seemed to have a burst of magical power that could change Qin Wushuang's entire temperament. In the instant of the slaughter, Qin Wushuang's temperament was incredibly decisive and did not fluctuate in the slightest. It was as if slaughtering these peak of the common mysterious stage was as easy as destroying a dozen pieces of wood. Finally, the Supreme Tao elite warriors on the other side had awakened as they shouted, "It's Qin Wushuang! It's Qin Wushuang!" These Supreme Tao elite warriors roared with vigor, yet not many dared to chase after him. After all, most of the coagulate Supreme Tao elite warriors here had seen how Lei Ming had died. Therefore, when the Transformation Supreme Tao elite warriors did not make a move, they would not recklessly chase after him. When Lei Yu saw it was Qin Wushuang, without a second word, he said with an evil grin, "Kid, since you are not hiding in the defenses, then give me your life." He rolled his body and already chased after him. Yin Beifei immediately shouted, "Brother Lei Yu, do not act rashly. I am afraid he is playing a trick." Lei Yu kept giving a cold sneer, yet he did not look back. In the Qin clan, besides the head chief, Lei Yu was not afraid of anyone. Even if there was a trap or an ambush, how could he be scared? To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 716. Qin Wushuang was extremely familiar with the terrain. Plus, he had started a few steps ahead and had the speed of the purple cloud in Yang wings. Therefore, although Lei Yu was fast, he was still one step behind. In a flash, Qin Wushuang's body seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Qin Wushuang went into the secret passage, and Qin Chongyang opened the defenses in time. When Qin Wushuang scuttled in, the defenses closed automatically. "Haha, Wushuang, how did it go?" Qin Chongyang was at the entrance of the defenses. Due to the detour, he could not see the situation outside. He kept asking. Qin Wushuang laughed. "Let's talk at the headquarters." When Qin Chongyang saw Qin Wushuang beaming with happiness, he knew the battle situation was not bad. He was overjoyed at the unexpected good news. In a moment, he returned to the headquarters. When Qin Yunran and the others saw Qin Wushuang had returned so quickly, they thought the matter was hopeless. However, a moment ago, they saw that the Supreme Tao elite warriors were clearly in chaos. They should have reacted when their rear was attacked. Therefore, for a time, they were somewhat uncertain. Qin Wushuang revealed a trace of joy of victory as he laughed. Everyone, for this trip, we only lack the Supreme Tao elite warriors. The remaining shrimps suffered disastrous casualties. At least 15 warriors at the peak of the common mysterious stage lost their lives. For the other ordinary martial artists, no less than 200 died. This many? Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. Qin Wushuang said with a smile, "When I shot with the graceful spiritual bow, the power was unexpectedly great. It directly formed an attacking whirlpool and enveloped all the elite warriors at the peak of the common mysterious stage that rushed over. With one twist, all of them were turned into ashes. Indeed, this graceful spiritual bow has astonishing power. For the others, my two sealed spiritual beasts took care of them. They are all inherited spiritual beasts and have inherited secret skills. Killing people is as easy as picking up grass. For this battle, at least 1/5 of their powerhouses beneath the Supreme Tao stage have died. More than half of their warriors at the peak of the common mysterious stage have died." Qin Chongyang laughed. "I heard your voice shouting that those who help the villain do evil, those who help the Xian clan, the Qin clan will kill them all. You are not lying. Absolute slaughter, combined with your threat, I am afraid it will be even more convincing. I believe that those neutral sects will certainly regret their choice." Qin Wushuang said, "I only hope that those neutral sects will realize their mistake and withdraw from the battle group." Qin Yunran laughed loudly and said, "All right, even if they don't retreat, there will definitely be a barrier between them. Those at the peak of the common mysterious stage were the core elite of each sect. Even the Heavenly Emperor 8 Gates could not afford to lose them. How many of them are at the Supreme Tao stage? The 8 Heavenly Mountain 8 Gates? Added together? Those at the peak of the mysterious stage. They're the top-notch core stage. Let's see how much they. Qin Wushuang yu Qin Chongyang. I got Huang Yong Jin use. Devil Qin. Progress. The Yang mysterious cores yu Tian Dragon Wu Yang Yaf. You mysterious. More than a dozen peak of the common mysterious realm warriors were killed by you in an instant. Across the Qin clan, there were only 4 at the peak of the common mysterious stage. Qin Sun stage, and the profound, the Yu Qin, even Qin Taichong and Qin Wushuang were only at the profound and had yet to reach the peak of the mysterious stage. It was apparent that this peak of the mysterious stage was incredibly rare. How high was the voice of Xian Wuji, the son of the Heavenly Emperor? He was only at the peak of the mysterious stage. Since a dozen peak of the mysterious stage had died and the others were injured by the aftermath of the Golden Light, it would definitely be a tremendous strike to the Heavenly Emperor Gate. Qin Yunran laughed. Even for me, at the 8th calamity of the Coagulate Supreme Tao stage, I do not have the assurance to kill all those at the peak of the mysterious stage instantly. Wushuang, I firmly believe that in time, you will become an existence that will give Xian Tianwen a headache. Now, even those Qin clansmen who were full of doubts about Qin Wushuang did not have any doubts. They looked at Qin Wushuang with much more admiration and recognition. For such recognition, one could only acquire it after going through a life and death test and the proof of absolute strength. Wushuang, your bow and arrow is too powerful. Can you allow me to take a look? Suddenly, Qin Chongyang asked. Perhaps the head chief will use it to deal with Xian Tianwen. Qin Wushuang was not stingy as he held the graceful spiritual bow in his hand. Overflowing with golden lights, it gave people a feeling of endless resplendence. The dazzling lights pierced everyone's eyes to the point they could not open them. Qin Chongyang took it. When he held it in his hand, instantly it felt as heavy as 1,000 pounds. A form of endless pressure and endless attack power made Qin Chongyang feel a form of throbbing in his divine soul. Before he even looked at it for a moment, he felt absolutely restless and lightheaded. What's going on? What's going on? Qin Chongyang's spiritual perception surged with countless terrifying consciousness. Innumerable white bones and eerie souls kept floating in his sea of consciousness. For a time, it seemed as if he was in a hellish killing field. Third, what's wrong? When Qin Yunran saw that the situation was not good, he immediately seized the graceful spiritual bow. Now, Qin Chongyang slowly regained his senses. When he saw Qin Yunran holding the graceful spiritual bow, he immediately shouted, "Boss, don't touch that graceful spiritual bow. Put it down. Don't use your spiritual perception to observe it." For a time, Qin Yunran's mind was also shaken. When he heard Qin Chongyang shout, he suddenly came back to his senses. He put down the graceful spiritual bow. What's going on? Qin Yunran was also greatly astonished as he looked at the graceful spiritual bow with disbelief. He had seen this graceful spiritual bow before, but he did not feel it was this terrifying. Qin Wushuang also felt it was inconceivable. He picked up the graceful spiritual bow and did not find anything abnormal. Wushuang, how could this graceful spiritual bow have such powerful, murderous intentions? In that instant, it almost swallowed my divine soul. Qin Chongyang asked with lingering fear. Qin Yunran was also confused. Wushuang, what's going on? Two chiefs, I did not have such a feeling. However, ever since I acquired the shooting sun arrows, each time during battle, a form of murderous intentions would be extremely obvious. I don't know if this presence was caused by the shooting sun arrows or the graceful spiritual bow. Qin Yunran thought for a moment and nodded. Yes, initially when we saw the graceful spiritual bow, we did not have such a feeling. It must be the shooting sun arrows that awakened the powerful power of the graceful spiritual bow. Wushuang is the owner of the graceful spiritual bow. He could not feel it. When we touched it, we were invaded by the murderous intentions. Qin Chongyang nodded. Yes, this way, imperceptibly, this graceful spiritual bow has already recognized its owner. Qin Wushuang was moved inwardly. Ever since he acquired the graceful spiritual bow, he always felt that this graceful spiritual bow was like a giant treasure house that contained a presence as vast as the sea. In the beginning, he could at most use 5% of his power, and he could kill many opponents that were more powerful than him. Thinking back to when he killed Devil Boy, he thought he had already developed a lot of power of the graceful spiritual bow. Now thinking about it, the power at that time was ridiculously low. Now, ever since the shooting sun arrows appeared, the graceful spiritual bow seemed to have truly awakened from its deep sleep. Although Qin Wushuang felt that there was still a lot of power that had not been excavated, it could not be mentioned in the same breath as before. All right, the more mysterious this graceful spiritual bow is, it proves its greatness. Or else, how could it be a divine object used by a totem elite warrior? Wushuang, it seems this graceful spiritual bow has recognized its owner. Now, third chief, and I cannot use it. I wonder if the head chief can control it. If even the head chief cannot control it, this graceful spiritual bow is too powerful. Qin Chongyang gave a long sigh. Qin Wushuang still remembered that when the Stargaze Palace was facing a crisis, when facing the invasion of the Nine Palace faction, the graceful spiritual bow was lent to the head palace master, Zhubu Chuan. At that time, the graceful spiritual bow did not reject outsiders. Now thinking about it, it should be after the appearance of the shooting sun arrows that the graceful spiritual bow showed rejection. Regardless, to the Qin clan, this graceful spiritual bow is a good thing and not a bad thing. Qin Wushuang, you must strengthen your training and strive to enter the Supreme Tao stage as soon as possible. If you can enter the Supreme Tao stage, it will be as easy as stepping on an ant to kill a Supreme Dao stage powerhouse with the shooting sun arrows. Qin Yunran let out a straightforward laugh and walked forward. Everyone, don't let your imagination run wild. Let's see how the battle is going between the head chief and Xan Tianwen. The head chief and Xan Tianwen were already engaged in a heated battle. After a few hundred rounds, they could not determine the winner. Both of them used their spiritual perception to observe the battle situation beneath them. Although the Heavenly Emperor party had broken one of the defenses of the Qin clan, Qin Wushuang had killed so many people at once. The formation was in chaos and cracks had already appeared. Naturally, Xan Tianwen was anxious. When Qin Shaodian saw that the battle was going on for a long time, he was also unwilling to continue to consume energy. Inwardly, he also intended to retreat. After the two of them bombarded each other a few times, they retreated with tacit understanding and returned to the formation. After the head chief returned to the formation, he heard about Qin Wushuang's monstrous battle situation and also became interested in the graceful spiritual bow. After he took it, he sensed it slightly, and his expression also froze. He initiated the power of his divine soul to deal with the murderous intentions of the graceful spiritual bow. After a while, the head chief opened his eyes and handed over the graceful spiritual bow with a bitter smile. Wushuang, the presence of this graceful spiritual bow has not been completely developed. However, even in this case, at most I can only be on par with it. Its spiritual presence cannot be tamed. I am afraid I cannot control it. With a long sigh, he returned the graceful spiritual bow to Qin Wushuang and encouraged him. It's all right for such a divine object. Perhaps it is at the heavenly supreme Tao stage and has its own spirituality. It might not be a bad thing for it to be dead set on you. Qin Wushuang nodded and took it seriously. Qin Shaotian said with joy, Wushuang killed 12 warriors at the peak of the common mysterious stage. Certainly, it will cause cracks to appear in their party. Let's take a break for now and observe the changes. If Xan Tianwen cannot think of a good way, he will lose all his prestige. As long as those sects are disloyal, it will be easy to deal with the Qin clan. Initially, people of the Qin clan were more or less worried when they saw 12 supreme Tao elite warriors pressuring the border. Now, when they saw the development of the battle situation, they were more confident about the future of the Qin clan. With such an exceptional successor as Qin Wushuang, as long as the Qin clan could make it through this pass, they would certainly have a bright future. Beneath the aspiring throne mountain, the 6 major sects of the Heavenly Emperor party retreated for 1,000 miles and set up camp. Xan Tianwen flew into a rage and roared, You advance prematurely and do not talk about tactics. No organization. A young disciple came out from the rear and you realized it late. Do you still deserve the title of the Heavenly Emperor 8 Gates? It was no wonder that Xan Tianwen was furious. For such a low-level mistake, it was simply childish to the extreme. If they had not underestimated the enemy and thought the Qin clan was already a turtle in a jar, how could they have been this careless? The heavenly punishing villa and the sound of thunder sect were still all right. For the other 3 neutral sects, they truly felt they had no place to complain. This time, they suffered disastrous losses. Each of them lost 2 or 3 at the peak of the common mysterious stage. Almost all the strongest elite warriors beneath the Supreme Tao stage had died in this battle. Those 7 or 8 at the peak of the common mysterious stage that did not die were from the Heavenly Emperor Gate and the Heavenly Punishing Villa. This caused those 3 neutral sects to feel incredibly resentful. They had no grudge with the Qin clan, yet they were dragged into the water. Now, not only did they suffer disastrous losses, the Qin clan even spoke ruthlessly that they were going to annihilate their entire sect. The power of the Qin clan could be seen from the head chief and that devilish young man. Thinking up to this point, the 3 great sects could not help but have thoughts of retreating. Xan Tianwen swept across them with a cold gaze. In the next round, I will break the defenses. You guys watch from the back. For mere defenses, why would 12 people need to make a move together? After he finished speaking, he flapped the Heavenly Emperor wings and transformed into a long rainbow to shoot to the top of the aspiring throne mountain. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chijian.com. More chapters, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 717. Indeed, Xian Tianwen's strength was superior. No wonder he was the Heavenly Emperor. As the long rainbow flew behind him, in a moment, he arrived before the defenses of the aspiring throne mountain. Xian Tianwen flapped his Heavenly Emperor wings and waved the slaughtering sword with all his might. Instantly, a burst of light of judgment slashed down like a waterfall. The light surged, and the dazzling light suddenly expanded, forming a huge, explosive ripple, rippling out in circles. The ripples of the defenses also kept shattering and gushed out in all directions. Boom! Boom! Endless sounds of air exploding could be heard, and the entire restriction was completely destroyed. Xian Tianwen raised the slaughtering sword and flapped his Heavenly Emperor wings. With awe-inspiring divine power, he shouted, "Qin Xiaotian, today, I will let you know that before the genuine divine six weapons, your defenses are nothing." After he finished speaking, Xian Tianwen spread his wings, and two more weapons gushed out from his back. They were a giant axe and a giant hammer. Xian Tianwen kept making hand gestures. Suddenly, bursts of mysterious golden words overflowed from the center of his palm. These golden words kept overlaying each other and congealing into a human figure. In fact, it was imitating Xian Tianwen's figure. These two golden human figures jumped up together and each grabbed a genuine divine six weapons. With surging lights, they flew towards the next defense. Xian Tianwen laughed proudly. "Qin Xiaotian, let me see how long your Qin clan can hold out." In the midst of his words, the two golden human figures already waved the genuine divine six weapons and started to destroy the next defense. For the Qin clan, initially when they saw the Heavenly Emperor party retreat, they let out a sigh of relief. Suddenly, when they saw Xian Tianwen return, they were all shocked. When they saw his unpredictable methods, they were even more shocked. "Head Chief, what kind of method is this?" Qin Xiaoyang was also somewhat stunned as he watched. Qin Xiaotian gave a cold sneer. "This is Xian Tianwen's congealing golden light clone. For elite warriors at the genuine supreme Tao stage, their divine soul is incredibly powerful. If they have the secret technique to control clones, they can use the divine light to congeal clones. They only need a touch of divine soul to control this clone. However, the fighting power of this divine light clone is incomparable to that of the original body. Even if he could not be compared to Xian Tianwen's original self, certainly the clone of a genuine supreme Tao elite warrior would be incredibly powerful. Plus, with the assistance of the genuine divine six weapons, there was great hope to destroy the defenses of the Qin clan." Strange lights flashed in Qin Xiaotian's eyes. While he was in deep thought, with a rumbling sound, another barrier was opened by Xian Tianwen. One after another, 3 layers of the defenses of the Qin clan were opened. Although they were all external defenses, it already caused a giant crack to appear on the defensive circle of the Qin clan. The depth and thickness of the defense had been greatly reduced. With a profound gaze, Qin Xiaotian made up his mind all of a sudden. "Everyone, for ordinary defenses, even those at the core area, I am afraid they can only stop Xian Tianwen for 10 days to half a month. The 8 Desolation 6 Directions Mountain Protecting Grand Formation must be activated. You guys take charge here. I'll go activate the Mountain Protecting Grand Formation." After Qin Xiaotian finished speaking, his figure flashed and disappeared like a wisp of green smoke. If it was just Xian Tianwen calling for a fight alone, certainly Qin Xiaotian would not activate the 8 Desolation 6 Directions Mountain Protecting Grand Formation. The most terrifying part was that there was a group of a dozen supreme Tao elite warriors behind Xian Tianwen. If this group of people worked together to break the formation, Their attack and destructive power would even surpass Xian Tianwen's power alone. Once these dozen Supreme Dao elite warriors were allowed to charge into the upright morality hall, the Qin clan would not be able to resist. With the difference of absolute power, they were destined to fail if they fought head-on. Xian Tianwen commanded the divine light clone. Adding his own power, he started to destroy the next barrier. Clearly, the deeper one went into the Qin clan's defenses, the more difficult it would be. After Xian Tianwen had broken through the barriers, he also encountered some trouble. Before the third barrier, Xian Tianwen could not break it in a short period of time. However, clearly the attack power of the genuine Divine Six weapons was not just for show. While Xian Tianwen bombarded it, he provoked and mocked. Qin Shao Tian, didn't the Qin clan always claim to be proud and unyielding? Why are you acting like a coward at this time? Could it be that the strength of the Qin clan is all for show? If I don't break this barrier, I will face the sacrificial valley directly. Those dead people of the Qin clan are all buried here, right? Haha. If I raise this place to the ground and expose those remains for 3 years, it will certainly be interesting, right? Xian Tianwen's tone was full of resentment. It made each of the Qin clan blush with anger. They only wanted to roll up their sleeves and risk their lives to fight Xian Tianwen. It was a small matter to kill disciples of the Qin clan. Once the sacrificial valley was invaded by foreign enemies, to the disciples of the Qin clan, even 100 deaths would not make up for it. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang felt apprehensive. Indeed, this Xian clan was a ruthless figure, for they did not speak of principles. Such an opponent was like a wolf or a tiger, and was the most difficult to deal with. As he watched Xian Tianwen's arrogant appearance, Qin Wushuang truly wanted to charge out and kill this guy. Only he knew clearly that only the head chief could match the power of this Xian Tianwen. Even if he had the graceful spiritual bow, he could not reach that level. Xian Tianwen charged at the barrier madly. Once, twice, finally, a trace of loosening appeared on the barrier, as traces of spiritual qi slowly dispersed. Xian Tianwen was an expert. When he saw the situation, he immediately knew that a gap had appeared. As long as the gap appeared, he would increase the power of his attacks, and the speed of breaking this barrier would increase. After a long period of attack, those two great golden clones seemed to be somewhat tired. The golden light also gradually dimmed. When Xian Tianwen saw the situation, he made another hand gesture to support the golden light. Once again, the two golden clones were full of vigor. The persistence of this golden light consumed Xian Tianwen's own divine power. As long as Xian Tianwen's supreme Dao power could support it, he could make them work hard. The gap gradually grew bigger. Initially, the spiritual qi that dispersed was only the size of the eye of a needle. Along with Xian Tianwen's continuous attacks, the gap grew bigger, from the size of a finger to the size of a wrist, until now, there was already a gap as thick as a water bucket. As soon as such gap appeared, it meant that this barrier was in imminent danger. Each person of the Qin clan was burning with anxiety. They clenched their fists tightly, and their breathing also became rapid. With bloodshot eyes, each of their faces were filled with anxiety. The head chief should be about to activate the mountain protecting formation, right? Two chiefs. How come there is still no news? Should we contact the head chief? Yes, let's remind the head chief. Time waits for no one. At most, that Xian Tianwen will break this barrier in 15 minutes and approach the sacrificial valley directly. Qin Chongyang shouted, "Stop talking." The head chief is in charge of strategizing. How could he not know the situation? Since the mountain protecting formation is called a mountain protecting formation and is the trump card of the Qin clan, how could it be extraordinary? How could it be activated so easily? If we inform the head chief now, we will only disturb his mind. We must not. Qin Wushuang also agreed. Yes, now is not the time to disturb the head chief. At this moment, suddenly Xian Tianwen roared with laughter. "Break for me." He waved the slaughtering sword with full force, and his entire body seemed to have become one with this sword. With this astonishing slash, it directly caused lightning to flash and thunder to roll in all four directions. Explosions of air continued. The impact wave formed by the gigantic explosion spread out in all directions. Boom, boom. Another restriction had been broken. Xian Tianwen unfolded the heavenly emperor wings and let out roaring laughter. Holding the slaughtering sword, he charged towards the direction of the sacrificial valley with awe-inspiring divine power. At the same time, he roared, "Let's dig out the skeletons of those dead people at the sacrificial valley. It will be extremely interesting." As he spoke, he already transformed into meteoric light and dashed towards the sacrificial valley. Instantly, everyone of the Qin clan was stupefied and revealed an incredibly unsightly expression. Since this Xian Tianwen had gone to the sacrificial valley, the place where all generations of heroic souls of the Qin clan were resting would certainly be destroyed by him. Once the sacrificial valley was destroyed, all disciples of the Qin clan would become eternal sinners of the Qin clan. In the world of martial artists, in a world where the concept of clans was extremely strong, ancestors and inheritance meant everything. If the sacrificial valley was destroyed and the heroic souls of the Qin clan could not rest in peace, it would definitely be an extraordinary shame for the Qin clan. It would not be an exaggeration to call it a calamity. No, we must go protect him. We must not let that guy destroy the sacrificial valley. Honored warrior Ji Song was the first one to cry out. If the heroic souls of the Qin clan are disturbed, even if we die, we will have no face to see our ancestors in the underworld. We would rather die than sit and watch. Go fight it out with him. In the worst case, we can explode our primordial spirit and aim to injure him. We can also buy time for the head chief. Honored warrior Ji Yang also cried out. At this moment, suddenly Xian Tianwen's voice let out a sharp cry. Next, an angry long roar emerged. Xian Tianwen's figure retreated rapidly from the direction of the sacrificial valley. On one side of his insufferably arrogant heavenly emperor wings, a gigantic wound had appeared. On the side of the sacrificial valley, a burst of purple light soared to the sky as if vividly, lightning and fire were spitting out. Xian Tianwen's long roar was filled with ruthlessness. Qin Shaodian, what method do you have to hurt me secretly? Today, I will let you go. Tomorrow, I will come to break your mountain gate and slaughter your entire clan. A roar filled with ruthlessness resonated across the entire aspiring throne mountain. Each of the Qin clansmen beamed with joy. Could it be the mountain protecting formation was activated successfully? Even Qin Wushuang felt relieved inwardly. Judging from the way Xian Tianwen left in a hurry, he must have been injured by some unknown attack. Or else, the grand and honorable heavenly emperor would never have lost his self-control. Xian Tianwen escaped. The head chief has succeeded. Yes, the great formation must have been activated. Haha. No, take his life while he is sick. Since Xian Tianwen is injured, why didn't the head chief go after him? This is the best time to deal with Xian Tianwen. Qin Shongyang also felt it was strange. However, he knew that for such a wise person as the head chief to not go after Xian Tianwen, certainly there must be some inside information. He said to Qin Yunran, "Second, I will go see the head chief." Qin Wushuang volunteered, "I will also go take a look." Both of them ran towards the direction of the head chief. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.qijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 718. Inside a mysterious formation, Qin Shaodian leaned against a stone slab weakly. His forehead was full of sweat. Although he was an elite warrior at the genuine Supreme Tao stage, he seemed like a sickly man at this moment. When he saw Qin Wushuang and Qin Chongyang coming, the corner of his mouth twitched as he revealed a bitter smile. Indeed, this great formation is tyrannical. More haste, less speed. I pursued its activation speed too much and activated it forcefully, causing great damage to my vitality. This is also a form of punishment for my previous mistake in predicting the enemy. If I had activated this mountain protecting formation earlier and had enough time, I would not have consumed my vitality like this. Initially, this 8 Desolation and 6 Directions mountain protecting formation was a supreme formation that gathered the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. To activate this formation, one must at least be at the 8th Transformation Supreme Tao stage. Initially, with Qin Xiaoyin strength at the genuine Supreme Tao stage, it would not have been a problem to activate this formation calmly and with enough time. However, as Xian Tianwen's attack was too urgent, it forced Qin Xiaotian to race against time. Because he pursued the activation speed too much, it caused Qin Xiaotian to consume his vitality abnormally. Thus, the current scene was created. You must find it strange that when that Xian Tianwen was injured, why did I not chase after him, right? Qin Xiaotian gave a bitter smile and gave a long sigh. Head Chief, are you all right? Qin Chongyang asked with a concerned look. His eyes were full of concern. Qin Xiaotian waved his hand. This is just excessive consumption. Give me a month, and I will be able to recover completely. When Xian Tianwen left with injuries, without a month, I will not recover. However, even if he recovers, it would be useless. Even if he could activate the genuine divine 6 weapons in one breath, he would not be able to break this mountain protecting formation. This formation is called the 8 Desolation and 6 Directions formation. There are 8 desolations on the outside and 6 directions on the inside. Once activated, all the spiritual eyes of the formation will absorb the spiritual chi from all parts of the aspiring throne mountain and supply it continuously to support this formation. Qin Xiaotian explained. Because of this formation is exceptional. It's because this formation secretly contains the concept of nature and merged with the natural terrain. The aspiring throne mountain is one of the places with the most abundant spiritual chi in the Xianyuan Mount. The endless spiritual chi ensures that this formation is indestructible. Unless an extremely powerful totem elite warrior comes, this formation will never be broken. Qin Xiaotian was very confident in this array formation. This allowed Qin Chongyang to put down the giant stone in his heart. He gave a light sigh. A moment ago, the entire clan was truly frightened. Each of them wanted to stop Xian Tianwen with their own bodies. Qin Xiaotian said proudly, "How could I watch Xian Tianwen strut around without doing anything?" When this Xian Tianwen charged into the sacrificial valley, that place truly corresponds to the thunder gate of the outer 8 desolate lands. He triggered the heavenly thunder and lightning and injured the heavenly emperor wings. Haha, serve him right. It's a pity that it's not ruthless enough. It would be perfect if it killed him directly. There was a trace of regret in Qin Xiaoyin's tone. Qin Wushuang laughed. I think the heavens want to test our Qin clan and not let that Xian Tianwen die easily. Since this Xian Tianwen could not break the mountain protecting formation, certainly his prestige would fall greatly. Once cracks appeared in the alliance of the 6 families, as time passed, there would definitely be major conflicts. As long as their alliance is dissolved, it will be the day for the Qin to counterattack. Heavenly Emperor Gate, so what? 16 years later, it's hard to say who will be the head of the family. Qin Xiaotian laughed. That's right. I need your optimistic attitude. All right, Chongyang, Yinran, for this month, I will be in solitary training to recover. If it's fast, it'll take a month. If it's slow, it'll take 2 months before I come out. During this time, Xian Tianwen will not be overly arrogant. After the 8 Desolates and 6 Directions formation is activated, not even a fly can fly in. You should also supervise the training of those 4 honored warriors. Tell them to seize the time and refine the Supreme Tao fruit. Strive to break into the Supreme Tao stage as soon as possible. Yes, indeed, as the head chief expected, Heavenly Emperor Xian Tianwen was injured. Beneath the aspiring throne mountain, he spent a full month to completely recover from his injuries. When Xian Tianwen's second attack was thwarted, he calmed down instead. He thought to himself, when the Heavenly Emperor Gate gathered the 6 major sects to besiege the Qin clan. We could not break it. Investigating the reason. Although it's due to the powerful Qin clan, it's also because the Heavenly Emperor Gate underestimated the enemy too much. There are still 16 years until the Heavenly Emperor election. I refuse to believe that we cannot take down the Qin clan in these 16 years. No rush. We must not rush. We must take it slow. We must not fall for the evil tricks of the Qin clan. That Qin clan is full of tricks. On that day, I don't know what kind of defenses were set up, but a flash of lightning hacked it open silently. If I didn't have the protection of the Heavenly Emperor wings, I would have suffered severe injuries. Xian was also reflecting. This month of healing allowed him to have a much clearer head. Gradually, he woke up from that fanatical and confident mood. A clear-headed Heavenly Emperor Xian would definitely be more terrifying than an enraged Xian. After summoning all Supreme Tao elite warriors, Xian swept away his previous aura and said with an indifferent tone, "Everyone, although we did not get off to a good start, the fault does not lie with you. It's because I miscalculated the enemy. For this third battle, I will still take the lead and you'll follow behind. When I break all the defenses of the Qin clan, you will all swarm up and kill your way into the upright morality hall. You will form an iron bucket formation and not even a fly will be let go." Yes, when all the Supreme Tao elite warriors saw that the Heavenly Emperor had acted out of character and admitted his mistake with a humble attitude, they felt greatly satisfied. Even those 3 neutral sects were in a slightly better mood. In fact, these 3 neutral sects were also helpless. They could only brace themselves and hold on. At this point, they had no other choice. If they retreated now and allowed the Qin clan to recover, certainly they would not let them go. Only by continuing to persevere and annihilating the Qin clan in a spurt of energy could they ensure that the Qin clan would not seek revenge on them. This was called having no other choice. It was impossible to get off the tiger. Everyone follow me, kill the Qin clan, and kill your way into the upright morality hall. Everyone will get a share of the Qin clan's resources and treasures. Xian gave an encouraging sound and unfolded the Heavenly Emperor wings. Once again, he dashed towards the top of the aspiring throne mountain. Whoosh, whoosh. A dozen Supreme Tao lights also rose from the ground and followed Xian's footsteps closely. Thinking of how they could get a share of everything from the Qin clan by breaking through it, many sects became lively. If they could get some benefits from the Qin clan, they could definitely make up for their previous losses. The Qin clan was a sect that had been passed down for tens and thousands of years. It was even more ancient than the Heavenly Emperor Xian clan. Immediately, the blood of the leaders of these major sects boiled. They wanted to follow Xian and kill their way into the Qin clan. After setting up the formation, Xian flapped the Heavenly Emperor wings and inserted the slaughtering sword on his back. With a pull of his hand, a bow and arrow appeared. This bow was called the God-killing bow. Xian roared with laughter. Qin Xiaodian, this time, let me see what tricks you can use. The most powerful God-killing bow and arrow of the genuine divine 6 weapons will break your defenses with ease. After he finished speaking, Xian already activated his body and kept accelerating. The Heavenly Emperor wings followed the wind and stirred the airflow to strengthen the power. His speed kept increasing. Open. When the speed reached its maximum, the God-slaying bow stretched out into a full moon. Continuous arrows were shot out, instantly forming a combined attack circle. It shot out a huge black hole in the void, creating a powerful spatial depression. The attack directly blasted towards Yishiwen. Boom! The power that could destroy the heaven and earth crashed towards the defenses of the Qin clan. Something unexpected happened to Xian. This attack wave seemed to have crashed into a giant invisible iron board. With a rumbling sound, the speed of the depression stopped abruptly. The powerful explosion sound seemed to lift up the entire aspiring throne mountain. Boom! The power shot out by the God-killing bow was completely blocked. However, the defenses of the Qin clan remained unscathed. It could even be described as not moving in the slightest. Xian Tianwen was dumbstruck, for he could not believe the scene before his eyes. He looked at the god-killing bow in his hand with astonishment. It was the god-killing bow, one of the genuine divine 6 weapons. When he shot out this god-killing bow and arrow, he also unleashed 100% of its power. There was no possibility of failure. However, his full power attack that he accumulated power for had such a result. Accident. It was definitely an accident. It was an accident that Xian Tianwen could not accept. How could this be? Xian Tianwen was stunned on the spot. Inside the Qin clan, there were thunderous cheers. Qin Yunran roared with laughter. Indeed, the head chief said that the front side is the Qin gate. It symbolizes the masculine qi of the heavenly Tao and is indestructible. This Xian Tianwen is using strength against strength. It's impossible for him to break the Qin gate. Ha ha! Indeed, the 8 desolates and 6 directions formation is exceptional. Yes, too powerful. Ha ha! Xian Tianwen is dumbstruck. Honored warrior Ji Song also roared with laughter. Qin Shongyang said happily, "All right, honored warriors, you must speed up to refine the supreme Tao fruit. Time waits for no one." The head sect master activated this great array in order to buy time for everyone. Although this formation is powerful, it comes at the cost of sacrificing the spiritual qi of the aspiring throne mountain. When this formation operates for a day, it's equivalent to the spiritual qi consumed by all disciples of the Qin clan for a year. Even the head chief is not sure whether the spiritual qi of the aspiring throne mountain can guarantee the operation of this defying formation for 16 years. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone felt apprehensive. Especially those 4 great honored warriors, all of them nodded. Qin Taichong also laughed. Junior brother Wu Shuang, you and I should also hurry and train. Especially you must work harder. I am waiting for you to unleash your divine power. Qin Wu Shuang laughed, yet his mood was somewhat heavy. If this mountain-protecting formation consumed spiritual qi like this to the Qin clan, it would indeed be a move of harming oneself while harming the enemy. It would be at the cost of emptying the spiritual qi of the aspiring throne mountain. Xian Tianwen was flustered and exasperated. For half a month, he thought of all ways to break the formation each day. In the end, he could not find any strategy to break the formation. Although he was flustered and exasperated, Xian Tianwen knew that for this matter, it seems he must find Sir Xian Yuan Wei. Or else, with his power, in the end he could not break the mountain-protecting formation of the Qin clan. Not to mention breaking the formation, he could not even understand the profound principles of this formation. Xian Tianwen was eager to destroy the Qin clan. After he finished deploying the formation, he once again escaped towards the totem secret zone quietly. He must get some help from Sir Wei to ensure the complete defeat of the Qin clan. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 719. Inside the Totem Secret Zone, Xian Tianwen revisited this old place. His mood was completely different than the first time he came. The last time he came, Xian Tianwen was in high and vigorous spirits. He felt that it would be as easy as flipping his hand to destroy the Qin clan. Now, after he experienced what kind of difficult bone the Qin clan was, Xian Tianwen's mentality also underwent a subtle change. It was not because his confidence had suffered a setback, but because he had become more steady and practical. Xian Tianwen calmed down and knew that he could not take down the Qin clan. It was not because he was useless, nor was it because Qin Shaodian was more powerful than him. The only reason was the tens and thousands of years of inheritance of the Qin clan. In terms of the mountain protection formation at the Qin clan's level, it was pardonable that Xian Tianwen could not take it down. After all, it was an inheritance of tens and thousands of years. It was normal for them to pass down some powerful things. Still at that little courtyard planted in the bamboo forest, Tianwen stopped outside the wooden door. Inside, that thick and strong guy stood up from a bamboo chair. He carried a light smile on the corner of his mouth. Tianwen, I knew you would come back. Tianwen revealed some astonishment on his face. Sir Wei, you guessed my intentions? No, I don't even need to guess. When you left for the first time, I knew this day would come. Therefore, is there a need to guess your intentions? Don't look at how Xian Yuan Wei appeared to be crude. He was meticulous. Tianwen would not dare to play any little tricks before the totem elite warrior as he bowed to the ground. Please give me some pointers. Xian Yuan Wei threw away the axe from his hand casually with his thick palm and said, The first time you came, you were full of confidence, as if taking down the Qin clan would be as easy as blowing off dust. At that time, I knew that you were going to get snubbed at the Qin clan. However, for such matter, if I don't let you experience it, certainly you will not accept it. How about it? What problems have you encountered? Tianwen felt extremely ashamed as he gave a long sigh. At that time, indeed, I lost my head and underestimated the power of the Qin clan. Please give me some pointers. Give me pointers? Sir Wei revealed a light smile. Let's speak it directly. The totem powerhouses will never get involved in the conflicts between the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. This is the agreement between the totem powerhouses and the rule passed down since the immemorial times. Unless the Heavenly Emperor Eight Gates betrays the Xian Yuan Mound or even threatens the existence of the Xian Yuan Mound, the totem clan must not interfere. A trace of disappointment flashed across Tianwen's face. If the totem elite warriors could not step out, it would be an almost impossible task to break the Qin clan's formation. Initially, Tianwen still hoped that since this Sir Wei was determined to get the graceful spiritual bow, he should have given him some help. Xian Yuan Wei shot a glance at Tianwen and asked again, Tell me everything that happened to you at the Qin clan. Tianwen could not ask for anything better. At the moment, he talked about the battle with the Qin clan in detail, especially when he talked about how Qin Wushuang used the graceful spiritual bow to attack from the rear and killed a dozen warriors at the peak of the common mysterious stage. He embellished the story even more. Clearly, Tianwen wanted to deliberately highlight the graceful spiritual bow. How could Xian Yuan Wei not know about Tianwen's little scheme? He revealed an indifferent smile and did not mind. When Tianwen finished speaking, Xian Yuan Mound nodded lightly. 8 Desolation and 6 Directions Formation. Tianwen, you should feel fortunate. If you did not enter the genuine Supreme Tao stage, that move could have killed you directly and not just injured the Heavenly Emperor wings. Tianwen was astonished. It's this powerful. Xian Yuan Wei rolled his eyes. That formation is the greatest trump card of the Qin clan. 4 generations of Supreme Tao elite warriors of the Qin clan. If they could not pass the Supreme Tao calamity, they would merge their divine soul into the formation. This formation has condensed many divine souls of the Qin clan for tens and thousands of years. Do you think that you can break it at will with your power alone? After all, Xian Yuan Wei was a totem elite warrior and was knowledgeable. Naturally, it was not strange for him to speak of the 8 Desolation and 6 Directions formation. He had seen through the profound theory in one sentence. After Tianwen heard this, he was greatly astonished inwardly. Now he knew how lucky he was. Sir Wei, for this formation, unless you are a totem elite warrior, you can never break it. Tianwen adjusted his breathing deeply and asked while worrying about personal gains and losses. For all the formations in the world, there is no such thing as unbreakable. What is the profound theory of the 8 Desolation and 6 Directions formation? It relies on the terrain and can absorb the spiritual qi of the aspiring throne mountain to provide the formation with endless spiritual qi. Think about it. Under normal circumstances, how do you think you will win if you fight against the spiritual qi of the entire aspiring throne mountain with your power alone? Tianwen gave a long sigh. You will lose for sure. That's right. Even the strongest totem elite warrior will lose for sure. However, The key to breaking the formation is not to meet force with force. It's to see through the profound theory of the formation. Profound theory of the formation. Xian raises brow. The profound theory of this formation is the transportation channel of the spiritual qi. If you can find the spiritual qi transportation channel of this 8 desolation and 6 directions formation and destroy it, this formation will break on its own. When Xian Yuan Wei said this, a ruthless smile spilled from the corner of his mouth. He said leisurely, "Of course, I can only give you these hints. As for how to operate it, I cannot make a move, or else it would be against the rules." Xian remained silent. Find the transportation channel of the spiritual qi? This matter sounded simple. However, for a sect like the Qin clan, certainly it would not be easy for people to find the spiritual qi passage when they made such a formation. You must be out of your mind, right? Xian Yuan Wei waved his hand and flicked his sleeve. Suddenly, a burst of earthy yellow light flew out. This is a supreme Tao weapon I refined in the recent few thousand years. It's called Nirvana Heavenly Plow. This object can fly in the sky and burrow into the ground in the time of a breath. It's the most practical tool for detecting and destroying the spiritual qi of the ley lines. Now that I am giving you this object, how will you repay me? Xian was overjoyed as he took it. He said with great joy, "If you can break the mountain protecting formation of the Qin clan, I will give you the graceful spiritual bow with both hands." A ruthless smile emerged from the corner of Xian Yuan Wei's mouth. "Remember, I refined this object in private. No one knows. Therefore, when you take this object to break the mountain protecting formation of the Qin clan, no one will know it's me. If you still cannot break the Qin clan in this trip, then don't come again. Or else, the next time you come empty-handed, it will be the day of your death." Xian shuddered with fear and trepidation. As he looked at Xian Yuan Wei's expression, certainly he was not joking. He put away the Nirvana Heavenly Plow and said with a trembling voice, "I will use all my power to break the Qin clan. The next time I come, I will definitely bring the graceful spiritual bow and not disappoint Sir Wei." Xian Yuan Wei waved his hand. "Go." Xian did not dare to linger. He gave a bow and turned to leave. When he left the totem secret zone, Xian urged the Heavenly Emperor wings and rushed towards the direction of the aspiring throne mountain at his fastest speed. This time, he came out quietly. If the Qin clan learned that Qin Shaodian had launched a desperate counterattack, with his power at the genuine supreme Tao stage, certainly he could throw the Heavenly Emperor party into chaos. Therefore, Xian knew that he must return quickly. Fortunately, the Qin clan did not learn the news of Xian's departure. Additionally, it seemed that the Qin clan planned to defend to the death. When they saw Xian return, the Heavenly Emperor party had a great boost of morale. They went up to welcome him. "Your Majesty, how did it go?" Xian laughed. "Are there any movements from the Qin clan?" "Your Majesty, it seems the Qin clan is determined to defend to the death." "There are no movements at all," Xian said with a cold sneer. "Qin Shaodian is stalling for time to let the Qin people refine the supreme Tao fruit. How could I not know? How could I let this wishful thinking work?" "Your Majesty, you already have a way to break the Qin clan?" Xian laughed leisurely. "If I don't break the Qin clan, I swear I am not human." Everyone was overjoyed, and for a time, they kept flattering him. Xian said, "Pass the order. Let's rest for 10 days. I will be in solitary training for a few days. The day I come out will be the day we break the Qin clan." When Xian passed the order, instantly the response sounded like thunder. During this time, although there were small-scale victories in the great battle with the Qin clan, in the end, there were more setbacks. This had made everyone more or less doubt whether this trip could destroy the Qin clan. If they could not beat the Qin clan to death, then the revenge everyone would face would be crazy. Everyone was well aware of this point. Now, even those 3 neutral sects were counting on Xian to truly have a way to break the Qin clan. Or else, their confidence would truly collapse. On the other hand, inside the Qin clan, they also found it strange. During this time, there was not the slightest movement from the Heavenly Emperor party. It was as if they had retreated and there were no movements. Clearly, everyone knew that the Heavenly Emperor Gate's intention to destroy the Qin clan would not be extinguished. The more the Heavenly Emperor Gate did not attack, it proved that they were brewing a new scheme. Although the mountain protecting formation of the Qin clan was almost defying the natural order, such bitter defense situation still produced a tremendous test to the mentality of the Qin people. Third, what do you think that Xian Tianwen is doing? With his personality, certainly he would not let it go, right? Qin Yunran was also full of doubts. Qin Chongyang gave a long sigh. Just as the head chief said, we're coping with all changes by sticking to the status quo. Regardless of how the Heavenly Emperor Gate makes their moves, we will protect the mountain protecting formation and everything will be stable for the Qin clan. Unless the elite warriors of the Totem clan intervene, or else, with Xian Tianwen's power, he will never break the Qin clan's mountain protecting formation. That's the case, yet since Xian Tianwen has not made a move, I feel that this guy is up to something. Qin Chongyang laughed. They like to stall for time. It's exactly what the Qin clan is happy to see. It's best to drag it out for 3 or 5 years. Surely cracks will appear in their alliance, and it will fall apart. By that time, the Qin clan will counterattack and defeat the Heavenly Emperor Gate. In the Heavenly Emperor election in 16 years, we can subdue them without a fight. At this moment, suddenly the voice of the head chief emerged. Yunran, Chongyang, come here. Qin Yunran and Qin Chongyang exchanged a glance and nodded. They walked towards the solitary training place where the head chief was. When the 3 chiefs gathered, Qin Xiaotian said, You too, with Xian Tianwen's ferocious personality, certainly he will not let it go. You must be mentally prepared for a tough battle. That Xian Tianwen is the current Heavenly Emperor and is qualified to communicate with the Totem clan. I'm still worried that Xian Tianwen can extend his hands to the Totem clan. If the Totem clan interferes, even if they make some random moves, it's enough to make the Qin clan suffer greatly. Totem elite warriors? Both of them were greatly surprised. If the Totem elite warriors interfered, then the Qin clan would be in great trouble. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 720. Revealing a grave expression, Qin Xiaotian nodded with a sigh. Normally, with the 8 desolation and 6 directions formation, the Qin clan could sit back and relax. However, when I was in solitary training these few days, I always felt somewhat restless. With my strength at the genuine supreme Tao stage, vividly, I can already perceive a trace of the subtle nature of the heavenly law. Initially, I could have achieved the state of having no distractions other than myself. However, in these few days, this restless feeling is getting stronger. Qin Chongyang and Qin Yunran exchanged a glance, and both felt a burst of restlessness. If the omnipotent head chief said this, it proved that there were changes to this situation, and it was not a small change. Head chief, could it be that this crisis is changing repeatedly? Qin Chongyang probed to ask. Qin Xiaotian gave a slight sigh. I cannot calculate how this change came about, but I am sure that there will be changes. The Qin clan cannot sit and wait for death. We must make some arrangements. Arrangements? Qin Yunran said with a bitter smile. Head chief, we have used all our trump cards. What other arrangements are there? You two, this arrangement is no longer a tactical arrangement, but a strategic choice. I am prepared to plan for both scenarios. Once the crisis of the Qin clan worsens, we will think of a way to send out a few of our most elite disciples. Head chief, the situation is this serious? Qin Xiaotian said seriously. This matter has already surpassed my estimation. Most likely, it will not develop to this step. However, this is the worst plan. I must consider it as a possibility. Qin Chongyang nodded silently. Inwardly, he also knew that if the Totem clan got involved, then the development of this matter would not be predicted by anyone in the Qin clan. To plan for the worst was to prepare for a rainy day. In case the Qin clan was unfortunately breached, they could preserve a trace of their bloodline and preserve some memories. Head Chief, a strategic shift is a feasible move. For the young generation disciples, if they stay at the sect, the possibility of transforming into instant combat power would not be great. We can move them out. However, this strategic shift also carries risks. In case the mountain gate of the Qin clan is not in danger, it would be safer for them to stay at the sect. If they move, they would face the danger of being chased. Qin Chongyang spoke of the trace of secret worry in his heart. His considerations were not wrong. After all, this was the worst-case scenario, but it might not necessarily happen. Strategic shift, if they were discovered by the Sky Emperor's camp when they went out and hunted them down with the cultivation base of the young disciples, it would definitely not be any good fruit to eat. Like lightning, Qin Xiaodian shot out a burst of vital lights. You too. Let me ask you, among the Qin clansmen of the same generation as you, how many have similar talent as you? About 7 or 8. Qin Chongyang said. How many have survived until now and cultivated to the divine Tao realm? Qin Xiaodian asked with a sharp tone. It's just me and second sect master Yunran. Speaking of this, Qin Chongyang suddenly understood something. His eyes lit up. Head Chief, what do you mean? That's right. A house sparrow can fly here and there under the eaves. In the end, it can't soar into the sky and face the wind and snow. The goshawk, on the other hand, was tempered in the wind and rain, forgetting about life and death. Only then could it become the king of birds. You have also seen the potential of the younger generation of the Qin clan. There are few with good potential. However, for those with mature temperament and can assume personal responsibility, besides Qin Wushuang and Qin Taichung, who else could it be? Qin Xiaoyan's rhetorical question made the two great chiefs speechless. After a moment of contemplation, they also felt the words of the two chiefs were reasonable. Across the younger generation of the Qin clan, besides Qin Wushuang, who was in the limelight, and Qin Taichung, who was rather impressive, for the other disciples, only Qin Jining could be counted as a piece of unpolished jade waiting to be developed. For the other few, although they had good potential, whether they could achieve the supreme Tao realm or not would be a huge question mark. After all, the supreme Tao fruit did not appear often. Such fortuitous opportunity would be hard to encounter in 1,000 years. The 10,000-year pilgrimage pageant of the Karakoram Immortal Clan was only held once every 10,000 years. For such probability, the chance of encountering it was almost negligible. Qin Yunran said, Head Chief, in this case, let's pick a few. Wushuang and Taichung will certainly leave. For the rest, it will be up to them. No, for Wushuang and Taichung, let them choose. Qin Xiaodian shook his head. For this matter, we will not force them. Qin Chongyang felt it was reasonable. Only by making their own choices, they would have no regrets. Then for this matter, should we inform the entire clan? Of course, or else, if they disappear for no reason, the clan's mind will change, Qin Xiaotian said. All right, Head Chief, I will go prepare now. Qin Chongyang stood up. Go. While they were speaking, suddenly Qin Xiaotian's expression changed slightly. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. He's here. Who? Xiantian. There was a trace of coldness in Qin Xiaotian's tone. This Xiantian has come after such a long time. Certainly he has something else to rely on. Hopefully, he will not attract totem elite warriors. While they were speaking, Xiantian's arrogant long laughter came from the outside. Qin Xiaotian, how does it feel to be a coward? I will wait before your mountain gate. Let's see how long you can endure it. As Xiantian spoke these words, Qin Xiaotian's expression became even more solemn. He mumbled, This Xiantian said this deliberately. Certainly he has other plans. I will go meet him. Head Chief, no need to speak. I'm extremely familiar with this mountain protecting formation. I know where the life gate and the death gate are. Qin Xiaotian waved his hand and said with a light smile, If I can lure that Xiantian into the formation gate, I will not let him leave. When he said this, Qin Xiaotian stood up abruptly and walked outside in large strides. Qin Wushuang was in solitary training. He was also alarmed by Xian Tianwen's arrogant laughter as he walked out. Bao Bao and Lone walked over. "Boss, did you break through?" Qin Wushuang laughed. "How could it be this fast? However, I feel that the peak of the common mysterious stage is not too far away. Everything I'm doing now is to prepare for impacting the supreme divine Tao." Bao Bao laughed. "Good. I will wait for you to break into the supreme Tao stage. You guys must also work hard." Qin Wushuang gave a light sigh and walked towards the main hall. At this moment, the main hall of the Upright Morality Hall was already filled with people of the Qin clan. Head Chief went out to fight with Xian Tianwen. "Everyone, how's your progress?" The people of the Qin clan communicated with each other. The three honored warriors that had refined the supreme Tao stage also communicated with each other. Qin Chongyang and Qin Yunran were also among them. They listened to everyone's conversation quietly and did not make a sound. Outside the mountain gate, Xian Tianwen held the slaughtering sword in his hand and laughed. Qin Xiaotian, "It seems you still care about the title of a coward. What, today you came out, are you planning to surrender or fight to the death with me?" Qin Xiaotian said with a light smile. "Xian Tianwen, as the Honorable Heavenly Emperor, you have created a record by being as wretched and shameless as you. The title of the most wretched Heavenly Emperor in history belongs to you." Xian Tianwen roared with laughter. "Qin Xiaotian, you can't be thinking this can provoke me, right?" Qin Xiaotian's expression turned cold. "Stop with the nonsense. Let's fight if you want." After he finished speaking, he pointed with the tip of the spear, and red lights erupted from his entire body. With the guidance of the lights, instantly it burned into red clouds that filled the sky. The red clouds condensed and transformed into tens and thousands of ferocious beasts. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws to kill Xian Tianwen. Xian Tianwen roared, "Good!" He slashed with the slaughtering sword and activated the Heavenly Emperor wings. Instead of retreating, he moved forward to attack Qin Xiaotian. Two figures dragged long rays of light. Like the resplendent stars in the Milky Way, they danced in disorder and engaged in battle. The entire sky seemed to be turning upside down. These two great elite warriors were indeed the strongest existences besides the totem elite warriors in the Xianyuan Mound. For this battle, they exerted all their strength and fought for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, it was difficult to determine the victor. The sun rose and set. After 3 days and 3 nights, these two seemed to not know fatigue. They were still full of vigor and were in the mood to kill. Initially, Xian Tianwen intended to wear Qin Xiaotian down. However, after 3 days of fighting, he had to admit that in terms of individual strength, this Qin Xiaotian would not lose to the Heavenly Emperor. "Qin Xiaotian, hold on." Xian Tianwen waved the Heavenly Emperor wings and fled to the high sky. A long rainbow pierced through the sky and flew away. Qin Xiaotian also had the thought of withdrawing his troops. He lifted his spear and did not chase after him. As he fixed his gaze on the trajectory of Xian Tianwen's departure, he did not feel the slightest joy. When he turned around to return to the formation, he saw that all the Qin clansmen had already gathered at the Upright Morality Hall. "Head Chief." "Welcome, Head Chief." Qin Xiaotian waved his hand. "Everyone, Xian Tianwen has come to challenge me. It's completely different than when he first came to the aspiring Throne Mountain. I suspect there's a trick in this. However, since the Qin clan has already used our trump card, we can only deal with all changes." "Head Chief, everyone is here," Qin Chongyang reminded him. "All right, sit down. I will speak," Qin Xiaotian said with a solemn tone. Everyone returned to their seats according to his words. Qin Xiaotian said, "Everyone, previously, Xian Tianwen was already at his wit's end. Before my mountain protecting formation, he was at his wit's end. Recently, since he has made a comeback, certainly he will reveal some trump card. With the trump card of the Xian clan, certainly they cannot do anything to the Qin clan. However, I am worried that this matter might involve the Totem clan. Therefore, the Qin clan must prepare for the worst. Totem clan? When he said these words, the complexion of all the Qin clansmen had become abnormally unsightly. Qin Xiaodian gave a long sigh. That's right, it's the Totem clan. In any case, this Xiantian one is the current Heavenly Emperor. It's unknown if he could get some good strategies to break the formation from the Totem clan. Therefore, the Qin clan must make some plans. Instantly, Qin Xiaodian spoke of his plan and said slowly, this strategic shift is only limited to the younger generation. For now, it will not form combat power. However, the future will be considerable, and it's where the hope of the Qin clan lies. However, I will say the ugly words first. A strategic shift might not be the most ideal choice. It's because what I'm doing is only planning for the worst. It might not happen. There are risks to hiding inside the mountain gate, but it's also possible that it's absolutely safe. If we shift, most likely we will be free and unfettered, but the risk will not be small. Additionally, we are carrying a mission. As for how to choose, you should think about it yourselves. Qin Wushuang was moved inwardly. He knew that, in the end, the head chief had taken this move into consideration. Indeed, a strategic shift will be the wisest choice under the worst situation. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.qijian.com. More chapters, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 721. A group of young disciples remained silent. They looked at each other, for clearly, they wanted to see the choice of their companions. As for the exalted ones and elders, their expressions were calm. Indeed, the strategic shift would not be related to them. They were already old and far less malleable than the young people. The strategic shift would only involve a small number of people. It would be impossible for all of them to retreat. Most importantly, they had been baptized by the concept of the Qin clan for a long time. Their sense of loyalty to the Qin clan had never allowed them to consider the thought of abandoning the Qin clan. Everyone, you must think clearly. I am not asking you to move so that you can drag out an ignoble existence. But in case the Qin clan encounters the worst situation, you must endure the humiliation and shoulder the heavy responsibility. You must carry the inheritance of the Qin clan and work hard for the revival of the Qin clan. Qin Xiaodian said slowly, of course, this is only the worst-case scenario. Think about it yourselves. As soon as you go out, the Heavenly Emperor party will chase after you like wolves and tigers. Once they set their eyes on you, it will be a situation where you have a slim chance of survival. You should know this well. Qin Taichung was the first to express his opinion. Head Chief, although it will be full of danger, if I can contribute to the Qin clan, I am willing to bear the brunt. All right, Taichung, you are one. Qin Wushuang was not the first to speak. It was not because he did not want to go, but because he was considering other matters. While he was hesitating, Qin Taichung said, Junior brother Wushuang, could it be you are hesitating? Qin Wushuang revealed a smile. Senior brother Taichung, how could I dare to fall behind? If you are willing, of course I will accompany you. Qin Xiaotian shook his head. No, when you go out, you must go separately. You must not act separately. Or else, in case you get chased, most likely you will all be annihilated. Since they could not go together, many eager young disciples instantly became hesitant. Initially, they wanted to volunteer themselves, yet most of them extinguished this impulse. It was better to stay at the mountain gate. Regardless of the future of the sect, it would be better to follow the mountain gate through life and death than to wander outside and become a lonely ghost. Usually, there would be risks on both sides. For ordinary people, certainly they would choose the more comfortable option. It would be to stay at the mountain gate and deal with all changes by sticking to the status quo. Qin Jining stood out. I'm also willing to go. Disciple Qin Hao is also willing. Qin Xiaoong was originally somewhat hesitant, but when he saw everyone volunteering so bravely, the blood in his heart surged, and he stood out. This disciple is also willing to go out and take a look. After Qin Xiaoong stood out, no one from the other younger generation stood out anymore. 5. The corners of Qin Xiaoyan's mouth curled into a smile as he said indifferently, 5. It's not much, but it's not little either. This number was enough. Is there anyone else willing to go? After a long while, no other disciples stepped forward. Qin Xiaoyan said, all right, then it's the 5 of you. I can make myself clear now. When Qin Xiaoyan said this, a strange smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Earlier, there were some small traps in my words to test you. The probability of being discovered was very low. Therefore, as long as you're careful, you won't be hunted down under normal circumstances. That is, unless you mess things up yourselves. Upon hearing this, the young disciples wore strange expressions on their faces. As it turned out, the great sect leader had said that it was so dangerous just to test him. Everyone did not know whether to laugh or cry. At the same time, vividly, they felt somewhat ashamed. It was no wonder that the great sect leader was testing them. If he didn't say it was so dangerous, how could he test who was truly willing to go out? For such a great task of carrying the inheritance of the Qin clan, one must have a firm temperament and be fearless of life and death. If one could not even see through life and death, clearly they would not be the most suitable person to complete this great task. Qin Wushuang secretly admired the great sect leader's move. Qin Xiaoyan said again, of course, I only said that the probability of being discovered is low. In fact, there are still risks. When Tianwen attacked the Qin clan, he suffered a great loss at Wushuang's hands. Certainly, he will pay attention to placing spies everywhere. Therefore, I am afraid there are spies within 100,000 miles of the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. Therefore, even if you can leave the aspiring throne mountain, it does not mean you'll be safe. Only when you leave the Heavenly Emperor Mountain completely will you be safe. Under such circumstances, it's certainly impossible to retreat on a large scale. When retreating on a large scale, for sure it would cause movements due to the large number of people. Once they were discovered, they would be consigned to eternal damnation. Therefore, such retreat could only be carried out one by one in a small area. All right, you 5, get ready. When Tianwen makes his next move, I will send you out of the aspiring throne mountain through the secret transportation formation. While they were talking, suddenly Tianwen's proud long whistle came from the outside. Qin Xiaoyan, your Qin clan's great mountain protection formation relies on the endless spiritual qi from the aspiring throne mountain. If I were to cut off all of these channels, would this spell formation become a useless spell formation? What do you say? Like a sharp knife, Tianwen's words stimulated Qin Xiaoyan's chest ruthlessly. A burst of sharp golden lights flashed across Qin Xiaoyan's eyes, and instantly murderous intentions burned fiercely. Again, Tianwen's piercing voice sounded, 8 Desolation 6 Directions Mountain Protection Formation, TSK, TSK. It does sound arrogant. However, since I know the profoundness of your formation, watch how I break it. Everyone's expression changed drastically as they looked at Qin Xiaoyan with astonishment. Qin Xiaoyan said lightly, don't be in a rush. This spiritual qi passage had a total of 14 paths. Each path was abnormally powerful and followed the power of the heaven and earth. Also, it was extremely hidden, not to mention the fact that it would be difficult for Tianwen to find it. Even if he did, it would be impossible for him to penetrate it with his power. Even if he activates all the genuine divine 6 weapons, without 8 or 10 years, it would be impossible for him to break all the spiritual sources. Initially, this Tianwen crashed into the Tremor Gate and was almost struck to death by lightning. How come he suddenly knows the profoundness of the formation? There must be something fishy going on. There were some doubts and uneasiness in Qin Xiaoyan's tone. Qin Xiaoyan gave a long sigh. No need to guess. Certainly there must be a totem elite warrior helping in secret. Unless it's a totem elite warrior, it's impossible for him to know the profoundness of the Qin clan's mountain protection formation. Indeed, traces of a totem elite warrior had appeared. This made the people of the Qin clan feel a burst of resentment. A totem elite warrior was helping the Xian clan? This was too unreasonable. Qin Shaotian slowly swept across everyone's face and said lightly, "Certainly you will feel it's unfair and angry, but it's useless. In this world, whoever is the strongest will be the king. If the totem elite warrior wants to interfere, besides rising to resist, it's useless to complain and curse." Each person of the Qin clan was filled with righteous indignation as they kept nodding. "We are willing to follow the head chief to death. We will fight for the clan. Even if we die, we will not regret it. Fight! Even if the totem clan wants to destroy the Qin clan, we must fight to the end." When Qin Shaotian saw the fighting spirit of the Qin clan had increased greatly, he felt somewhat gratified. He waved his hand and said, "All right, it's useless for everyone to denounce here. Go and train wholeheartedly. Only by becoming strong ourselves, the Qin clan will have the chance to turn the tables. Since it's possible for the totem elite warrior to step out, the Qin clan will not sit and wait for death. Wushuang, Taichung, you five come here." Yes. The 5 disciples stood in the first row. "Get ready and leave immediately. I want you to head to the other forbidden spiritual zones after leaving the Heavenly Emperor Mountain and ask for help from the other totem clans. If the Xinyuan clan is truly suspected to have made a move, the other totem clans will not sit and watch. The totem clans will not interfere with secular conflicts. It's always been this way. Tell me where you are willing to go." Qin Wushuang said, "I am willing to go to the endless Eastern Sea." The endless Eastern Sea was the most vast and mysterious forbidden spiritual zone among the 5 great forbidden zones. Since Qin Wushuang had spoken to designate the endless Eastern Sea, naturally no one would fight for it. Qin Hao scratched his head. "I have been to the illusion heavenly lake. Let me go." Qin Jining said, "I have been to the border of the extreme North Snow Zone. I am willing to go there." Qin Shaotian laughed. "Great, Taichung, Xiaoong, you two can go to the Heavenly Fire southern border. There are 2 major totem clans at the southern border. You will each go one." Yes. At the Heavenly Fire southern border, there are the Fire God Zhu Rong clan and the Fire Emperor Shinnong clan. They all sealed themselves as totem clans. For this matter, the elite warriors of the young generation had also heard about it. For this trip, not all of you will succeed. Haha. However, for the survival of the Qin clan, even if there is a glimmer of hope, you must fight for it. Qin Shaotian gave a light sigh. As he looked at the 5 young people who were full of vigor, he also sighed endlessly. Unexpectedly, the Qin clan had walked to this step. At this moment, suddenly the entire upright morality hall trembled slightly. Qin Xiaoyan's expression changed slightly. After he counted with his fingers for a moment, his complexion changed abruptly. With a flash, he dashed towards the southeast direction. On the southeast formation map, there was a giant formation platform that was as smooth as a bright mirror. Qin Shaotian poured in his divine power, and a burst of light flashed from that platform. It had covered the entire formation image of this corner. Like a vicious beast that traveled underground, a burst of earthy yellow light shuttled back and forth underground at a rapid speed. It was as if a vicious beast that chose people to devour was hunting prey. This light traveled at a rapid speed and seemed to be searching for something underground. "What is this?" Qin Chongyang could not refrain himself from asking. "It must be Xin Tianwen's trump card. This light should be a divine weapon. From the looks of it, it should be a divine weapon that can search underground. This Xin Tianwen must be searching for the spiritual source of the formation. Seeing that this object is full of intelligence, he must have something to rely on. Don't blame that Xin Tianwen for daring to boast like that." Qin Shaotian revealed an incredibly unsightly expression as he swore in a low voice. If the transmission channel of the spiritual qi could be found this easily, it would definitely not be a good thing for the Qin clan. It's already close to the transmission channel of the 8 desolate Sun Gate. Indeed, this spiritual object has the ability to search. Qin Shaotian swore. Xin Tianwen would not have such a defying object. It must be a totem elite warrior. It must have been given to him by the totem elite warrior. Qin Chongyang and Qin Yunran also looked at each other with a bitter smile. Could it be that the heavens were truly testing the Qin clan? How could there be so many continuous waves of calamity? When Qin Wushuang saw the expression of the head chief, he also knew the severity of the situation. For the time being, he did not know what to say. Vividly, he felt that perhaps this matter had truly involved the Totem Clan. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 722. Qin Xiaodian no longer hesitated as he shouted, Wu Shuang, Taichong, Xiaoang, Jining, and Qin Hao, what do you five need to prepare? I will give you 1 hour. Prepare quickly and gather here. Qin Taichong and the others no longer hesitated as they all went. When they saw Qin Wushuang standing at the scene, Qin Xiaodian could not refrain from asking, Wushuang, don't you have anything to prepare? Qin Wushuang shook his head. I only have one wish. I want to take Miss Mu Roan with me. Wushuang, do you know what kind of heavy responsibility you bear when you leave this time? Qin Xiaodian asked with an indifferent tone. Yes, Wushuang. At this moment, you must not let your emotions affect your decisions. To you, taking Miss Mu Roan will be inconvenient for you to carry out your tasks. Qin Wushuang shook his head. Please grant my wish. I will not take Miss Mu Roan with me to take the risk. I will put her in a safe place. Qin Xiaodian gave a long sigh. In this case, it's all right. To break into the Supreme Tao stage, you must not have any inner demons. If this Miss Mu Roan becomes your inner demon, in the end it will not be a good thing. For this matter, I approve. Thank you for granting my wish, head chief. Qin Xiaodian waved his hand. Go and let Miss Mu Roan prepare. In 1 hour, I will send you guys out of the aspiring Throne Mountain. After Qin Wushuang left, Qin Chongyang revealed a worried expression. Head chief, it seems the imposing manner of this yellow light is extraordinary. It must be a totem object. I am afraid it will not be easy for the Qin clan to pass this pass. Qin Xiaodian gave a slight sneer. Not necessarily. I'm only worried that Xine Tianwen has other trump cards. If it's just this totem object, it will not be enough to destroy the Qin clan completely. For this object to break my 8 desolation and 6 directions formation, without a few years, it will not be done. What about a totem elite warrior? For a single totem elite warrior to come, unless it's Xian Yuan Yang, the head chief of the Xian Yuan clan. Or else, even for other Xian Yuan elite warriors, they will need to use some brain power to break this formation. Qin Chongyang said, I still feel it's impossible for the Xian Yuan clan to step out. After all, the Qin clan has never lost respect for the Xian Yuan clan. We also have thorough etiquette. For the Xian Yuan clan, it's impossible for them to kill the Qin clan for no reason. I'm afraid that the Xian Yuan elite has secretly given some help to the Heavenly Emperor Gate. No matter what, this formation must not be broken. Chongyang, Yunran, listen carefully. If this thing destroys my formation quickly, I will choose to sacrifice the power of my spirit and try to seal it. This item has no owner, and no totem elite warrior is controlling it personally. Perhaps my soul power can achieve the effect of sealing it. However, this way, my divine soul will suffer great injuries. Next, it will be difficult for me to fight for the Qin clan. You two will be responsible for this great undertaking of protecting the Qin clan. Qin Yunran and Qin Chongyang looked at each other. They were both shocked. The big master spoke calmly, but how could they not hear the solemn and stirring meaning behind his words? The head sect master's actions showed that if he did not succeed, he would die trying. Qin Xiaotian said in a ghastly tone, I presume all of you are aware that once the soul is activated to seal it, it will be injured at best, and it will be shattered to death at worst. Head sect master, you don't need to say anything. Although I am a few thousand years older than you, it's fate that I am able to be the chief of the Qin clan at the Supreme Tao stage. To fight for the Qin clan, regardless of life or death, when I was still a 3 feet young child, I already understood this. Therefore, even if I die because of this, you don't need to be sad. You only need to take over my great responsibility and pass down the spirit of the Qin clan. Believe me, the Qin clan will not be destroyed. Qin Xiaotian gave a light sigh, as if he was whispering. However, within this whisper, it revealed Qin Xiaotian's boundless expression and blessing to the Qin clan. It also revealed Qin Xiaotian's unhurried spirit of going forward despite facing millions of people. If he did not fear death, how could he be confused? Qin Yunren and Qin Chongyang were both elite warriors of the Supreme Tao stage. Currently, they were controlled by a form of indescribable emotion. Inwardly, a surge of violent waves kept surging. If even the head sect master spoke this way, then the Qin clan was truly encountering an unprecedented crisis. Indeed, the interference of the Totem clan was a predicament the Qin clan had never encountered before. The difficulty of such predicament did not lie in the immediate crisis, but in the unpredictable future. Just how terrifying the disaster brought by the interference of the Totem clan would be, even the head sect master could not predict it. Just as they were feeling sad, footsteps came from outside the door. The three sect leaders simultaneously withdrew their dignified expressions and regained their composure. Qin Wushuang and Murong Su had already arrived first. Bao Bao and the purple flame electric beast also arrived. Not long after, the other four also arrived one after another. It only took a quarter of an hour from start to finish. Qin Xiaotian nodded and said, I will not speak any more superfluous words. If the Qin clan is not destroyed, in 16 years, the mountain gate of the aspiring throne mountain will still be open to welcome you back. If the Qin clan encounters a great calamity, you must endure the humiliation and shoulder the heavy burden. You must pass on the legacy of the Qin clan. As long as one of you is alive, the legacy of the Qin clan will not be cut off, understand? Yes. Qin Xiaotian said again. Remember, in these 16 years, you must not use the communication jade plate to contact the headquarters of the Qin clan. You must also not contact each other. It's because with Xin Tianwen's power, he can lock onto your position through the subtle senses of the communication jade plate. As for the communication between you guys, initially it does not matter much. However, if one of you gets caught, once you contact each other, it's possible that your position will be locked onto. Therefore, unless it's absolutely necessary, try not to contact each other. Of course, for this matter, you can make your own decision. When it's safe, how to judge, and act according to circumstances, all of these will depend on your own understanding. Do you all understand? Qin Wushuang and the others all nodded. Yes, follow me. Qin Xiaotian did not speak any more superfluous words as he led the five of them to walk towards the back mountain behind the upright morality hall. After a few twists and turns, they finally arrived at a hidden deep underground cave. Qin Xiaotian pointed to a transportation stone formation and said, this formation can send you to a hidden valley outside the aspiring throne mountain. Each time, at most 4 people can be transported. You will be transported in batches. Qin Wushuang said with a smile, then please go ahead. I will bring up the rear. Qin Wushuang, Murong Su, plus 2 spiritual beasts, it was also 4 people. Qin Taichung and the others shook hands with Qin Wushuang and agreed to meet again in 16 years. When they parted ways, it seemed as if there was a stone pressing on their hearts. After Qin Taichung and the others left through transportation, Qin Xiaotian said with a smile after a little more than an hour, great, for the first group, we did not encounter any problems. Wushuang, are you ready? Qin Wushuang nodded. Head Chief, I am ready. Wushuang, to Taichung and the others, I did not say much. To you, I must say, take care. The rise and fall of the Qin clan will surely depend on you. Qin Wushuang said seriously, Head Chief, you should also take care. I will not disappoint you. When the stone formation was activated, Wushuang and Murong Su were wrapped in lights and also entered the transportation channel. With the sound of the wind whistling in their ears, in a moment, when they opened their eyes, they had already arrived outside a mountain valley. Now, Qin Taichung and the others had already gone far away. They did not wait for Qin Wushuang at the same place. Qin Wushuang observed the terrain and covered the surrounding with his spiritual perception. When he did not detect any abnormal situation, he said to Murong Su, "Su heir, I am going to the endless eastern sea. Are you willing to come with me or return to the floating snow house?" Murong Su said with determination, "I will follow you in life and death." Qin Wushuang nodded. "All right, Bao Bao alone, come here and look at this map. This is the Judge Mountain Prefecture. This is the Crest Mountain. You and I are familiar with this place. Keep walking this way. At a rather hidden place, there's a mountain shaped like a tortoise. It's called the Tortoise King Mountain. Wait for me there. There is a mountain cave at the Tortoise King Mountain. As for the exact route, I have already marked it." "Boss, what do you mean?" Bao Bao blinked his eyes and was somewhat confused. "Are you not coming with us?" Qin Wushuang looked at the southeast corner coldly and said with a determined tone, "If I leave like this, I will feel unreconciled and unhappy." Murong Su's delicate body trembled slightly as she revealed an astonished expression. She was an exceptionally smart girl, and of course, she had guessed Qin Wushuang's intention. "Brother Qin, are you going to attack the Heavenly Emperor Gate?" Qin Wushuang looked at Murong Su with a determined gaze. "Su heir, will you stop me?" Endless tenderness flashed in Murong Su's eyes. Inwardly, she was extremely unwilling, yet in the end she did not show it. Instead, she said, "Brother Qin, I like your decisive personality. If you're going to do it, just do it. Regardless of what you do, I will support you." Inwardly, Qin Wushuang was overjoyed as he grabbed Murong Su's soft and tender hand. "Su heir, I promise you that I will regroup with you guys at the Tortoise King Mountain. Along the way, dress up as freelance martial artists and do not attract any attention. I will let the sealed spiritual beasts cover your rear. Besides these supreme Tao warriors at the aspiring Throne Mountain, not many can do anything to you guys. With the protection of the sealed spiritual beasts, it will be foolproof." Without further ado, Murong Su, Bao Bao, and the others dressed up. Qin Wushuang took out the sealed scroll and summoned 3 perfect void martial stage and 2 ravine mysterious martial stage. In total, there were 5 spiritual beasts. After he had finished giving out instructions, he sent Murong Su and the others out of the border. Qin Wushuang escorted them in secret. Only when they were far away from the Heavenly Emperor Mountain did he return quietly. When he returned to the Heavenly Emperor Mountain, Qin Wushuang's entire body was like a sharp blade that was filled with sharpness and murderous intentions. Along the way back, Qin Wushuang did not do anything as he immersed himself in the control of the graceful spiritual Bao. Recently, Qin Wushuang discovered that indeed, this graceful spiritual Bao was filled with mysteries. Each time he conversed with the graceful spiritual Bao, he could sense a form of indescribable murderous intentions. The presence within the murderous intent also kept shaping Qin Wushuang's personality and sharpening Qin Wushuang's temperament. Vividly, Qin Wushuang found a form of compatibility with a graceful spiritual Bao. When he held the graceful spiritual Bao in his hand, Qin Wushuang even felt as if he was the ruler of the world. Inwardly, the surge of murderous intentions surged like a broken dam. Kill, kill, kill. He would kill to his heart's content at the Heavenly Emperor Gate. When the Heavenly Emperor Gate attacked the Qin clan, could it be that Qin Wushuang, could not attack the Heavenly Emperor Gate? With the graceful spiritual Bao, besides Exantianwen, Qin Wushuang felt that he would not care about anyone else at the Heavenly Emperor Gate. Therefore, a bold idea emerged from his mind. He decided to kill his way to the Heavenly Emperor Gate. Even if he could not change the battle situation, he would dampen the spirit of the Heavenly Emperor Gate. During the day tomorrow, there will be a power cut at Old Bull's area. The update will only come at night. If you come early, Old Bull will also update at 4. Wushuang needs to vent his anger. Tomorrow's chapter should be somewhat interesting. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen, please log on to www.chijian.com. More chapters, support the author, support the original reading. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen, please log on to www.chijian.com. More chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen, please log on to www.chijian.com. More chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 723. The Heavenly Emperor Gate was located on the southeast side of the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. In terms of luck, it was indeed the most prosperous existence. However, the Heavenly Emperor Gate had committed many unjust acts. Usually, an unstable peak would be the beginning of a downhill slope. This time, the location where Qin Wushuang and the others were transported out was the most desolate and most hidden deep valley of the aspiring throne mountain. Surrounded by clouds and mist, even the Heavenly Emperor party did not notice it. Just as Qin Shoutian had guessed, the Heavenly Emperor Gate had set up spies across the entire Heavenly Emperor Mountain. If it were not for Qin Wushuang's quick-wittedness, Murong Su and the others' disguise, plus they did not have the temperament of a disciple of the Qin clan, they were able to sneak out. Qin Wushuang was not in a rush to make a move. He was waiting. He planned to wait for half a month. In this half a month, it was not because Qin Wushuang did not make sufficient preparations, but for his colleagues and Murong Su. With this half a month's time, regardless of Murong Su, Qin Taichung and his fellow disciples, they were at least hundreds and thousands of miles away. When a great battle occurred at the Heavenly Emperor Gate, it would not affect them. As meticulous as hair, of course Qin Wushuang would not overlook such little details. He planned to use his spiritual perception to contact the head chief when he went to the Heavenly Emperor Gate for a massacre. He would ask him to think of a way to hold back Xian Tianwen. As long as Xian Tianwen could not get away, Qin Wushuang would have more time to carry out his plan. Once again, he took out the sealed scroll. Qin Wushuang summoned the dark, mysterious snake and swallowing sky lion dragon. Now, these two spiritual beasts at the peak of the common mysterious stage had become Qin Wushuang's main fighters. Each time they were summoned, they knew that the chance to fight had come again. Master, another chance to practice? Swallowing Sky Lion Dragon laughed with fanaticism. You too, this battle is not ordinary. I have 3 targets. They're the Heavenly Emperor Gate, the Heavenly Punishing Villa, and the Sound of Thunder Sect. I will go to the Heavenly Emperor Gate. You two will go to the Heavenly Punishing Villa and the Sound of Thunder Sect separately. Give it your all. Do as much damage as you can, and do as much damage as you can. When the sky-devouring lion dragon and the dark mystic snake heard that they could fight freely, their eyes flickered with a ferocious light. The unique tyrannical nature of spirit beasts was stimulated at once. Qin Wushuang spread out the map of the Heavenly Emperor Mountain and said, "This is the Sound of Thunder Sect. This is the Heavenly Punishing Villa. All of you are under my command. I order you to attack. The 3 of us will attack together." They echoed each other. This wave of attacks would have more time. However, he couldn't continue fighting. When they heard my order, they immediately retreated. Let's split up and head towards the Tortoise King Mountain. Qin Wushuang outlined the path to the Tortoise King Mountain. Master, when are we leaving? The 2 spirit beasts asked. Move out immediately. With your spiritual power reserves, it won't be a problem for you to last until Tortoise King Mountain. But to be on the safe side, I fixed on 3 rendezvous points along the way. If we cannot meet at these 3 rendezvous points, we will meet at the Tortoise King Mountain. If we can, we will meet at the rendezvous point. The closest rendezvous point is only 200,000 miles away from here. Remember, when you receive the order, you must retreat and do not encounter any Supreme Tao elite warriors. Now, all Supreme Tao elite warriors of each sect are at the Qin clan. You will arrange your own retreat route according to the route the Qin clan took to these 2 places. As long as you don't bump into their return route, you will never have to worry about encountering them. Understand? Okay, Master. Then we will go now. Go. Be careful along the way and listen to my orders. Qin Wushuang sent away these 2 spiritual beasts at the peak of the common mysterious stage and started his 15 days of solitary training again. In these 15 days, Qin Wushuang remained hidden. He studied the graceful spiritual bow and communicated with it. What made Qin Wushuang surprised was that communicating with the graceful spiritual bow could temper his primordial spirit and temper his temperament. This was an unexpected gain after he acquired the shooting sun arrows. When the Heavenly Emperor Gate launched a punitive expedition against the Qin clan, all 4 supreme Dao elite warriors, including Xi and Tianwen, went out. Most of the warriors at the peak of the common mysterious stage below the supreme Dao stage also followed. Currently, only one at the peak of the common mysterious stage remained to oversee the Heavenly Emperor Gate. His name was Xian Tianhong. This person was Xian Tianwen's junior brother and also a think tank at the Heavenly Emperor Gate. His ability to give advice was outstanding. Among the warriors at the peak of the common mysterious stage, he was also the one with the most hope to comprehend and become a god. Xian Tianwen allowed Xian Tianhong to oversee the Heavenly Emperor Gate. It was apparent how much he trusted him. Naturally, he also intended to create a training environment for him. It would allow him to have the opportunity to enter the Supreme Dao stage before the Heavenly Emperor election in 16 years. Xian Tianhong's assistants were 4 elders at the Ravine Mysterious stage. Elder Tianhong, I just received news from the Qin clan. The Heavenly Emperor has unleashed great divine power and is close to breaking the first pass of the Qin clan's mountain protection formation, one of the elders said with a smile. Xian Tianhong was in a great mood as he revealed a wise and far-sighted smile. Great, with this speed, we can expect to break through the Qin clan in 3 years. Everyone should also train hard. When the Heavenly Emperor returns, you and I can achieve breakthroughs. Xian Tianhong encouraged them. Elder Tianhong, you should have gained a great harvest from your supreme Dao comprehension, right? You're not far from the supreme Dao stage, right? One of the elders asked with a flattering smile. However, Xian Tianhong did not reveal a proud expression. With a calm expression, he said with an indifferent smile, I am still 1 step away. However, I am confident that before the Heavenly Emperor election, I will successfully enter the Supreme Dao stage. Congratulations, Elder Tianhong. Haha, by that time, we should call you Chief Tianhong. When one entered the Supreme Dao stage, they would automatically be promoted to Chief. This was the universal rule of the Heavenly Emperor 8 Gates. Our Xian clan is still the most powerful. We are not as useless as the Qin clan. They only know how to rely on that Supreme Dao fruit. If you have the skill, why don't you use your own strength to break into the Supreme Dao stage and show us? This was the typical sour grapes mentality. Xian Tianhong waved his hand. Everyone is only contributing to the Xian clan. The titles are all empty. Now, besides strengthening our training, we must look after the mountain gate. Don't worry about this. Now the Qin clan cannot even protect themselves. Could they threaten the Heavenly Emperor Gate? Besides, the defenses of the Heavenly Emperor Gate are not to be trifled with. That elder from earlier was full of confidence. Xian Tianhong nodded and asked again, is there any movement from the Yun clan? This time, the Yun clan has made up their mind. There is not the slightest movement. Haha, the Yun clan is truly stupid. With the irresistible trend, they do not know how to make a choice. What are they playing at? When the Heavenly Emperor Gate annihilates the Qin clan, we will settle the accounts with them. A trace of strange light flashed across Xian Tianhong's eyes. For these matters, we must not criticize carelessly. By the way, how is the situation at the Heavenly Pole Cave? Ha! With the help of the Heavenly Emperor, His Highness has returned to the peak of the common mysterious stage. When he comprehends the Supreme Dao stage, His Majesty will reconstruct his body. Yes, remember, you must serve His Highness well. While they were talking, suddenly a figure flashed from outside the door. Xian Tianhong and the others could not refrain from standing up. Your Highness? Outside the door, Xen Wuji, who was dressed in white, walked in slowly. Of course, The appearance of this Exan Wuji was still that Ruo Ping fairy. Although he had used many methods to disguise his appearance, he could change his appearance into a more masculine one. However, he could not change the 2 lumps on his chest. This made Exan Wuji appear extremely comical. Although Exan Tianhong and the other elders felt this situation was extremely strange, they showed a respectful expression and did not dare to reveal the slightest smile to avoid angering His Highness's fragile heart. Elder Tianhong, how is the punitive expedition to the Qin clan going? Exan Wuji hated the Qin clan to the bone and was extremely concerned about this matter. Your Highness, everything is going smoothly. Exan Tianhong introduced the latest situation in detail. A trace of murderous intention flashed across Exan Wuji's face. It was rich and eerie. Good. On the day we break the Qin clan, I hope Father can capture that Qin Wuxuan. I must serve him well. When the word serve combined with his current strange appearance, the few elders found it funny inwardly. However, they did not dare to reveal the slightest smile. Elder Tianhong, this time when I leave the Celestial Pole Cave, I need to prepare a few sets of medicine. You can take care of it for me. I will not return to the Celestial Pole Cave for now. I will return when you are done with the preparations. A few prescriptions were handed over, and one of the elders respectfully received them. 20 days had passed. Qin Wuxuang had been wandering before the mountain gate of the Heavenly Emperor Gate for 3 or 4 days. He knew that the surrounding area of the Heavenly Emperor Gate must be filled with spies. Therefore, his current goal was to catch one of them. On this day, Qin Wuxuang finally got what he wanted. He used the divine venomous puppet technique and successfully controlled a patrolling disciple of the Exan clan. Qin Wuxuang took this patrolling disciple to a remote place. Naturally, the disciple of the Exan clan whose mind was controlled by the divine venomous insect could not resist at all. It was also exceptionally easy for Qin Wuxuang to interrogate him. From the mouth of this puppet, Qin Wuxuang learned that an elder called Exan Tianhong was in charge of the Exan clan. This elder was the one at the peak of the common mysterious stage, the one with the most hope to break into the supreme Dao stage in a short period. Therefore, the Heavenly Emperor kept him to take charge of the general situation. Besides him, there were 4 at the peak of the profound mysterious stage. Although these 5 possessed powerful strength, to Qin Wuxuang, the strength of the people left behind to guard the Exan clan was secondary. He was more concerned about the defenses of the mountain gate of the Heavenly Emperor Gate. With the prestige of the Heavenly Emperor Gate, it was impossible for the mountain gate to be completely unguarded. Regardless of how confident the Exan clan was, certainly they would open the defenses of the mountain gate. Although Qin Wuxuang was confident, he could not guarantee that he could ignore the defenses of the Heavenly Emperor Gate and enter or leave as he pleased. Therefore, he must ensure that he understood the distribution of these defenses completely. The defenses of the Heavenly Emperor Gate are divided into 3 layers. Currently, Elder Tianla, Elder Tianyu, and Elder Tianhong are in charge of these defenses. Elder Tianhong is personally in charge of the best layer of defenses. Unless you are a disciple of the sect, it would be extremely difficult for outsiders to pass through the defenses. The words of this puppet allowed Qin Wuxuang to have some ideas. A plan gradually formed in his mind. To attack the Heavenly Emperor Gate, I must give them an additional surprise. If I don't leave them a profound lesson, how can I make the Heavenly Emperor Gate feel the pain? Qin Wuxuang thought fiercely. He stood up and looked at the location of the Heavenly Emperor Gate with even colder eyes. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 724. Inside the Heavenly Emperor Gate, Elder Tianhong was in solitary training when he suddenly received a message through spiritual perception. It was from one of the patrol leaders on the outside. Elder Tianhong, some of my team discovered something unexpected. It seems they saw a spiritual beast of the exquisite, mysterious boundary stage appearing at the mountain gate. Elder Tianhong's gaze turned cold. a spiritual beast of the exquisite, mysterious boundary stage. Instantly, his mind became active. Although the Xian Yuan Mound was a forbidden spiritual zone, it was not the active territory of the beast clans. Divine beasts could almost be said to be extinct. Even spiritual beasts at the perfect void martial stage were rare in the Xian Yuan Mound, not to mention one at the exquisite, mysterious boundary stage. Who discovered it? Elder Tianhong asked. Wucho discovered it. After a moment of silence, Elder Tianhong knew that this Xian Wucho was a core disciple of the Xian clan. Indeed, he had been assigned a patrol mission. Bring him into the Divine Palace. Elder Tianhong stood up, and there were traces of fervent lights in his eyes. If he could capture a spiritual beast of the exquisite, mysterious boundary stage to the Xian clan, it would definitely be an immeasurable wealth. It was because for this spiritual beast of the exquisite, mysterious boundary stage, as long as it trained properly, it would definitely have hope to enter the Supreme Tao stage. For a spiritual beast of the Supreme Tao, its combat power would definitely be stronger than human Supreme Tao warriors of the same level. Therefore, Elder Tianhong could not refrain from having some thoughts. If I could take that spiritual beast as a contract spiritual beast, it would be the same as having another combat partner. In the future, it would definitely be a great help. Inside the Divine Palace, Elder Tianhong and the other 4 Ravine mysterious elders were all present. The patrolling protectors brought Xian Wucho to the door of the Divine Palace. Wucho, it's an honor to meet the 5 elders, Xian Wucho said carefully. Wucho, quickly tell us everything you've seen and heard, Elder Tianhong said lightly. Elder Tianhong, it's like this. At that time, I was patrolling the patrol area. After walking for a while, I suddenly caught a glimpse of a figure scuttling out from the forest near a pile of crushed stones. That spiritual beast saw me instantly. Just when I was about to call my colleagues, this spiritual beast seemed to be on guard and dived into the forest. After that, I did not see any traces of it. Oh, Elder Tianhong's gaze moved. Do you still remember that area? Disciple naturally remembers. However, that spirit beast cultivation was clearly much stronger than Disciple's. Thus, Disciple did not dare to approach it. Xian Tianhong said with a low voice, "Let's go take a look." He turned to look at the other 4 elders and said, "The 4 of you, that place is not far from my sect. A spiritual beast at the exquisite, mysterious boundary stage is extraordinary. If we can tame it, it would definitely be a great benefit to the Xian clan. Elder Tianhong, you're the one in charge here. We brothers will listen to you. All right, let's go take a look together." Of course, Xian Tianhong would not suspect that the disciples of his own sect would lie about military information. Now, everything in the Heavenly Monarch Gate was as usual. There were countless disciples patrolling inside and outside, and there was no need to worry about enemies sneaking in. Wucho, lead the way, Xian Tianhong said lightly. The group left the temple like a whirlwind. Under Xian Wucho's lead, they walked towards that place. Elder Tianhong did not want to make a big fuss. Therefore, other than the 5 great elders, there were only 6 people, including the patrolling guardian and Xian Wucho. Not long after Elder Tianhong and the others had left, Xian Wuji came to the temple again. However, he could not help but feel somewhat strange when he did not see the shadow of Elder Tianhong and the others. He immediately found Elder Tianhong's personal servant. After asking, he learned that Elder Tianhong had gone out. Xian Wuji's expression turned cold. Inwardly, he felt a burst of inexplicable fear. Xian Wuji's spiritual perception was abnormally powerful. Plus, with the tempering of his primordial spirit from the Coagulate Spirit Genuine Soul book. In fact, it was close to the supreme divine soul of an elite warrior of the supreme Tao stage. Because the power of this primordial spirit was close to the power of the divine soul, it allowed him to leave his body last time and escape with his life. Now, when such throbbing appeared in his divine soul, in terms of intuition, nothing good would happen. Spiritual beast at the exquisite, mysterious boundary stage, Xian Wuji mumbled. before my heavenly emperor gate. Since when did a spiritual beast at the exquisite, mysterious boundary stage appear? When he thought here, he asked with a lightning-like gaze, "Who brought the information?" "It's senior brother Wucho. Xian Wucho." Xian Wuji mumbled to himself. Although he felt something was wrong inwardly, he could not determine what was wrong. Xian Wuji would never allow himself to have doubts. With a flash, he also drifted out of the mountain gate. Only the core of the Heavenly Emperor Gate knew about the news of Xian Wuji coming back from the dead. Xian Wuji was also unwilling to expose himself. Therefore, he avoided all eyes and ears of the Xian clan. At this moment, when Elder Tianhong and the others went out, the 3 elders who were in charge of the defenses of the mountain gate were among them. Therefore, the defenses of the mountain gate were temporarily open. On the other hand, Elder Tianhong and the others had arrived outside the mountain gate. In a moment, they arrived before that cluster of dense forest mentioned by Xian Wucho. "Elder Tianhong, it's here." At that time, the spiritual beast scuttled out from here and scuttled back from here. It traveled at a fast speed. Xian Wucho said carefully, "All right, you continue to patrol. For now, don't spread the news. Watch your mouth, understand?" "Yes, I understand." Xian Wucho answered respectfully and turned to leave. After he turned around, a strange smile spilled from the corner of his mouth. "You 4, guard the 4 corners. I will go in to meet that spiritual beast." Inwardly, Elder Tianhong was also incredibly certain. Inside this dense forest, there was an indistinct wild presence. Although he did not know what kind of spiritual beast it was, it did possess the strength of the exquisite, mysterious boundary stage. Just when the 4 elders were about to answer, suddenly a light laughter emerged from the dense forest. When this laughter appeared in this place, it was extremely abrupt. For a time, Elder Tianhong and the 4 ravine, mysterious elders felt their scalp go numb. "Who's there?" Almost at the same time, they shouted violently. A burst of golden light shot out from the dense forest and held up a figure as if a god had descended. This person had a cold expression and emitted a burst of cold, murderous intentions from his entire body. With a young yet mature face shape, one could see with one look that he had experienced endless temperament. It caused Elder Tianhong to feel apprehensive inwardly. He had slightly modified his appearance, and with a subtle change in temperament, these 5 people could not recognize him for the time being. In fact, they did not even think in the direction of the Qin clan. "Xian Tianhong, Xian Tianla, Xian Tianyu." Qin Wushuang called out the names of these 5 elders as if he was familiar with them. "Who are you?" Xian Tianhong's gaze was gloomy and cold as he realized something was wrong. He shot a glance at the 4 elders. "The one who will send you off." Qin Wushuang's voice was cold and indifferent. Suddenly, he urged the murderous intentions from his entire body. Instantly, monstrous, imposing manner surged and caused the surrounding sky to darken. "Humph, humph, such a big tone." The group of elders sneered coldly. They were not idiots. Naturally, they could see that this young man had not entered the Supreme Tao stage. To them, it was a great joke to dare to speak such boastful words without the strength of the Supreme Tao stage. "Stop with the nonsense. I will give you a chance. Come at me together." Qin Wushuang's viper-like eyes swept across the front of these 5 people like a sharp blade. Instantly, the 5 of them felt their blood run cold. Elder Tianhong shouted, "Do you think that by using such provocation, you'll make us play a one-on-one game with you?" They shot a glance at each other, and the figures of the 5 people moved at the same time. 5 bursts of lights were urged and shot towards Qin Wushuang at full speed. Qin Wushuang let out a roaring laugh, and suddenly, he flapped the purple cloud yin-yang wings. The purple cloud yin-yang wings expanded against the wind, and he dashed in the sky like a spring onion on dry land. He pulled the graceful spiritual bow and shot out 5 shooting sun arrows almost at the same time. Like shooting stars chasing after the moon, the swift and beautiful arcs pierced through the blue dome of heaven. "Go die." "What?" "It's Qin Wushuang. Retreat quickly." Continuous shouts sounded. At first, it was anger, then confusion, and in the end, fear. By the time they realized what this golden arrow meant, it was already too late. With a speed that could not be captured by the naked eye, the golden lights had completely torn apart the distance of space and arrived before them directly. Whatever protective aura, whatever protective armor at this moment, it had all become floating clouds. 5 explosions took place, shattering the flesh of the 5 elders into pieces. Not even their remains were left behind. Beneath the supreme Tao stage, there was no divine soul at all. They did not receive the same treatment as Xi and Wuji, who received the Coagulate Spirit Genuine Soul book to escape in the face of danger. Therefore, from a moment these 5 elders made their move to their death, they had lost their lives almost in the span of a breath. Qin Wushuang took back the 5 shooting sun arrows with a wave of his hand. He twitched the corner of his mouth slightly and said indifferently, Exine Clan, Heavenly Emperor Gate, I am coming. Qin Wushuang's voice was gloomy and cold. He activated the purple cloud, Yin-Yang wings, and pierced the blue dome of heaven like a divine weapon descending from the heavens. Using the graceful spiritual bow to open a path, he charged directly into the Heavenly Emperor Gate. At this moment, suddenly, Qin Wushuang opened his discerning eyes and saw a panicked figure before him. Sneakily, it disappeared in a flash. Qin Wushuang shouted, If you don't want to become a target, get out. The entire body of that figure trembled and did not dare to hide anymore. She raised her hands and walked out from the thicket. Her beautiful face had lost all color and was full of panic. Who are you? When Qin Wushuang saw this panicked girl, he asked with a frown. I am Ruo Ping Fairy of the Amade Taoist sect. I know you. You are Qin Wushuang of the Qin clan. Ruo Ping Fairy. Qin Wushuang knew that the senior sister of the Amade Taoist sect was called Ruo Ping Fairy, yet he had never seen her face to face. He had only seen Ruo Qin Fairy, Ruo Tong Fairy, and Shui Rulin. On the contrary, he had only heard the name of this Ruo Ping Fairy and had never seen her in person. Now when he saw her appearance, he could not help but feel somewhat suspicious. You are a disciple of the Amade Taoist sect. Why have you come here? I had a one-night stand with that Xi and Wuji. Unexpectedly, he was buried at the Illusion Heavenly Lake. Therefore, I cleaned up his remains and secretly sent them to the Heavenly Emperor Gate. Additionally, I have come to the Xian Yuan Mound to find you under the orders of my teacher. Find me? A trace of murderous intentions emerged from Qin Wushuang's eyes. How did you recognize that I am Qin Wushuang? When you fought with Xi and Wuji, I once secretly watched and recognized the graceful spiritual bow in your hand. To prove herself, Ruo Ping Fairy waved the commanding plate of the Amade Taoist sect. This is the commanding plate of the Amade Taoist sect. Qin Wushuang shot a glance and did not suspect her. He asked with an indifferent tone, Why are you looking for me? Of course, it's because of Junior Sister Rulin. Junior Sister Rulin. Ruo Ping Fairy stammered and did not continue speaking. Incoming call. During the day, I used my laptop to store the code. I sent it first. Strive for the 4th update. Roar roar. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chijian.com. More chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 725. Qin Wushuang did not have the time to waste with this head disciple of the Amade Taoist sect. If he had not considered the relationship with Shui Rulin, he would have already made a move to kill this Ruo Ping Fairy. After all, initially at the 10,000 Flower Valley, this Ruo Ping Fairy was the one who worked the hardest to deal with Qin Wushuang. Speak if you have something to say. Why are you hesitating? Qin Wushuang shouted. Clearly, Ruo Ping Fairy was Xi and Wuji. Since he was discovered by Qin Wushuang, he did not dare to expose his true identity. Therefore, he had disguised himself as the real one and dealt with Qin Wushuang. He hoped to escape with his life using the identity of Ruo Ping Fairy. Since this body belonged to Ruo Ping Fairy, it would be easy to imitate a female voice. Since this Qin Wushuang had never seen Ruo Ping Fairy, of course he would not reveal any flaws. Of course, Xian Wuji knew that even if he used the identity of Ruo Ping Fairy, judging from the history of Ruo Ping Fairy dealing with Qin Wushuang at the 10,000 Flower Valley, most likely Qin Wushuang would not show mercy. Therefore, he had mentioned Shui Rulin. Initially, when Xian Wuji and Ruo Ping Fairy had rushed to the edge of the barrier, they just happened to see Shui Rulin letting Qin Wushuang go. From the berating of Ruo Ping Fairy, he learned about the old relationship between Shui Rulin and Qin Wushuang. Therefore, Xian Wuji had mentioned Shui Rulin. This was the only chance he had to fight for his life. Xian Wuji had suffered once at the hands of Qin Wushuang. A moment ago, he had seen with his own eyes how Qin Wushuang had destroyed the prestige of the 5 great elders. Inwardly, he was nervous to the extreme. At the moment, he raised his brow. Qin Wushuang, initially we had a grudge at the 10,000 Flower Valley. If I tell you, you will kill me. If I don't tell you, you will also kill me. I would rather not tell you. Humph, I know you have an affair with junior sister Rulin. If you want to know about her, in 3 days, we will meet at the secret cloud city, 3,000 miles southwest of the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. You can kill me now, but you will not get any information about her. Before Master sent me out, she had already predicted that this might happen. If I don't return, you can forget about ever seeing junior sister Rulin again. Qin Wushuang's original intention was to kill Ruo Ping Fairy. After hearing what she said, he also felt that it did not matter whether he killed Ruo Ping Fairy. He waved his hand. Kill you? I don't want to dirty my hands. Get lost. Ruo Ping Fairy's expression changed. She hesitated, as if she could not bear the humiliation. In the end, she stomped her feet, turned around, and ran away. Qin Wushuang was bent on killing his way into the Heavenly Emperor Gate. He had no time to think too much. With a flap of his wings, he charged into the Heavenly Emperor Gate. His voice was like a tidal wave, covering the entire Heavenly Emperor Gate. All disciples of the Heavenly Emperor Gate, listen up. Today, I, Qin Wushuang, am here to exterminate your Heavenly Emperor Gate. Those who stand in my way shall die. The elders in charge of the defenses were all killed. Naturally, Qin Wushuang was invincible. Wherever he went, ruins were left behind. Qin Wushuang's words were to attract the people of the Heavenly Emperor Gate to protect the Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace. He was not afraid of the disciples of the Heavenly Emperor Gate gathering together, but he was afraid that they would scatter and run away. Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace. Today, watch how I destroy your Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace in your ancestral hall. Qin Wushuang had already learned about all the important strongholds of the Xian clan from Xian Wuchou. Immediately, he arrived at the ancestral hall of the Xian clan. This solemn sacrificial hall was a 9-floor pagoda. Inside it, the ranking of all the heroic spirits of the Xian clan was placed. Its significance was similar to the sacrificial valley to the Qin clan. Qin Wushuang activated the purple cloud in yang wings and floated above the 9-floor pagoda. He laughed, bastards of the Xian clan, today watch how I destroy the foundation of your Xian clan. After he finished speaking, he activated the graceful spiritual bow. Like a rainbow, the shooting sun arrow transformed into a burst of meteoric light and rumbled towards the 9-floored pagoda. Boom! The thick meteoric light, transformed by the shooting sun arrow, crashed onto the top of the pagoda. A burst of black light opened abruptly like an umbrella and formed a sturdy defense to collide with the light of the graceful spiritual bow. Instantly, the momentum of the graceful spiritual bow was obstructed. After a pause, it still smashed onto the pagoda viciously. However, with this obstruction, the power of this arrow was clearly greatly affected. Only a small corner was blasted away. The materials used to construct this pagoda were definitely top-notch. Additionally, the building itself possessed powerful defense mechanisms. Despite this fact, it still suffered some damage from Qin Wushuang's arrow. Qin Wushuang laughed and shot 3 consecutive arrows in one smooth motion. Like three ferocious long dragons, they danced and circled in the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Under the effect of the consecutive arrows, the nine-floored pagoda emitted a miserable cry. Balls of air of despair kept shooting in all directions and soared into the sky. Boom! Outside the nine-floor pagoda, bursts of spiderweb-like cracks appeared. These cracks extended all the way to the top of the pagoda. All of a sudden, this nine-floored pagoda collapsed with a loud rumble. Like a landslide, it instantly shattered into ruins. This magnificent collapse instantly stirred up a cloud of dust on the ground. Bursts of air waves surged into the sky and lifted up countless dust. Not only did Qin Wushuang not feel any pity, instead, this powerful destructive power ignited the murderous intent from his heart. He laughed wildly. Next, the Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace. The disciples of the Heavenly Emperor Gate had only just arrived at this nine-floored pagoda. When they saw the Xian clan's ancestral hall was destroyed, each of them was stupefied and only reacted after a while. Bursts of grief and indignation surged around the Heavenly Emperor Gate. The ancestral hall is destroyed. The ancestral hall is destroyed. Kill him. Kill this kid of the Qin clan. He gnashed his teeth in anger and let out a heart-wrenching roar that shook the heavens. Qin Wushuang remained unmoved as he killed his way to the Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace. This Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace was the territory the Xian clan was most proud of. It was also the core location of the Xian clan's inheritance. Qin Wushuang knew that this Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace was like the Qin clan's upright morality hall. Destroying this Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace meant destroying the inheritance of the Xian clan. Now, before the Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace, no less than 100 people had gathered. Each of them were elite warriors above the profound void martial stage. They formed a powerful formation and protected above the Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace. Qin Wushuang said with an eerie smile, "Is there any Supreme Dao elite warrior at the Heavenly Emperor Gate? If there is no Supreme Dao elite warrior, today will be the day of destruction for the Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace. Remember, the one to destroy your Xian clan is the disciple of the Qin clan, Qin Wushuang." Amidst Qin Wushuang's roaring laughter, the murderous intent in his eyes increased explosively. Once again, he activated the graceful spiritual bow and shot 3 shooting sun arrows in a T-shape to form an attack circle. Boom! The hundreds of people didn't even have time to finish setting up their formation before they were swept by the golden light. They were instantly swallowed by the golden light and didn't even have time to resist. At least half of them were swept into the golden light and were directly blasted into pieces. Refreshing. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang felt incredibly refreshed. When this graceful spiritual bow acquired the shooting sun arrows, it could kill people at a fast speed. With its imposing manner, it could not only kill people, it could also shatter the enemy's courage and make them lose their will. It was because the power of this graceful spiritual bow was too tyrannical. It was so tyrannical that it almost made people powerless to resist. Slaughter, it was definitely a one-sided slaughter. After Qin Wushuang's 2 waves of attacks, not a single one of the guards before the Divine Palace remained. They were all turned into dregs. Haha, we're the backbone of the Xian clan. Are you all cowards? Sending these small fries to die? Qin Wushuang roared with laughter. Today, watch how I destroy your Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace. After he finished speaking, he shot 3 arrows continuously. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 golden lights that were as thick as water buckets shot toward the top of the Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace. The Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace was the main building of the Xian clan. The power of its defenses surpassed that of the 9-floored pagoda. When these 3 arrows arrived, rings of purple lights shot out continuously and actually caught these 3 arrows completely. Qin Wushuang shot another 6 arrows continuously, yet he still could not break the purple light defense. This Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace is indeed different. Qin Wushuang was greatly astonished. He knew that he was not a Supreme Tao elite warrior and could not unleash the full power of the graceful spiritual Bao. At the moment, he was not discouraged and said with a cold sneer, "There are defenses above. I will shoot into your divine palace and see how your defenses are doing." What Qin Wushuang did not expect was that the entire Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace was like an iron bucket without any gaps. No matter how he shot, he could not break the defenses of the Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace. At this moment, suddenly, Qin Wushuang's mind was moved. He actually felt that the defenses outside the Xian clan were being activated. Suddenly understanding something, he activated the purple cloud yin-yang wings and turned around to rush outside. It must be the elders of the Xian clan activating the defenses to keep me here. Qin Wushuang thought inwardly and knew that he could not stay any longer. He flew outside rapidly. Fortunately, the 2 layers of defenses had not been activated yet. Qin Wushuang rushed to the outermost layer of defenses. That defense was in the process of being activated. Qin Wushuang did not dare to be negligent. He opened the path with a graceful spiritual bow and blasted the group of disciples of the Xian clan into ashes. Following the momentum of the shooting sun arrows, the purple cloud yin-yang wings rushed out of the defense. Almost at this moment, that defense was completely activated. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang felt it was a pity. When he looked back, a group of elders of the Xian clan rushed out and swore from inside the defense, "Kid of the Qin clan, don't leave if you have the guts. Kid, after leaving the defense of the Qin clan, you'll be hunted down endlessly." Qin Wushuang laughed. "A group of old trash. Why are you hiding here? A moment ago, when I destroyed your ancestral house, what were you doing? I want to see how you will have the face to see the ancestors of the Xian clan after you die." The group of elders revealed an ashen complexion. They gritted their teeth with hatred, yet they could do nothing. Without the defenses, they could not even stop this Qin Wushuang. "Kid, the Supreme Tao elite warriors of the Xian clan have rushed back. Didn't you want to fight with the Supreme Tao warriors of the Xian clan? If you have the skills, just wait." Qin Wushuang gave a long whistle. "I will come and go as I please. This time, the Xian clan is lucky. The next time I come, I will destroy your entire clan." After he had finished, he did not speak a single word and directly initiated the purple cloud yin-yang wings. He dashed into the sky and disappeared. That group of elders looked at the sky where Qin Wushuang had disappeared into the distance. Stunned, they kept cursing and swearing. "Stop cursing. Hurry and activate the other 2 defenses." Xian Wuji's cold voice sounded from behind them. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 726. Initially, after Xian Wuji escaped with his life, he returned to the mountain gate immediately. He sent his spiritual perception to order all the elders not to show themselves and to activate the defenses of the Xian clan at full speed. If Xian Wuji didn't know the power of the graceful spiritual Bao and protected the lives of these elders, most likely these backbones of the Xian clan would have all become aggrieved souls under the arrows of the graceful spiritual Bao. When Qin Wushuang pierced through the sky, he could not refrain from contacting Qin Chongyang with the communication jade plate. "Third chief, please ask the head chief to restrain enchantment." Qin Wushuang talked about the news of him causing havoc at the Heavenly Emperor Gate. Qin Chongyang was also slightly surprised. A trace of gratification flashed across his heart. Yet he said with a profound tone, "Wushuang, for now the head chief cannot go out to restrain enchantment." "Why?" Qin Wushuang was stunned. "I don't know where Xian Tianwen got a divine weapon. It's incredibly tyrannical and can destroy the spiritual source of the Qin clan formation. Therefore, the head chief used his divine soul power to seal that divine weapon and restrain it to protect the spiritual source. Only that divine weapon should belong to a totem elite warrior. Even with the seal of the divine soul power, it can only weaken its power, but cannot seal it completely. Qin Wushuang was violently shaken inwardly as he became stupefied. His initial joy from causing havoc at the Heavenly Emperor Gate was instantly swept away. Wushuang, don't worry. The head chief said that even if he risks his life, he will delay this divine weapon. He will strive to delay it until the 16 years are up and not let the great formation of the Qin clan be broken. Leave the Heavenly Emperor Mountain quickly. Hurry. Third chief, you guys take care. Qin Wushuang knew that it was useless to be sad now. Instantly, he withdrew his spiritual perception and without hesitation, he informed Dark Mysterious Snake and Swallowing Sky Lion Dragon to leave. Qin Wushuang was not panicking. Even if that Xian Tianwen knew how to calculate, he would not know that Qin Wushuang was going to the Tortoise King Mountain next. As long as the escape route was not captured, Qin Wushuang was not worried at all. However, Qin Wushuang also possessed the ability of a supreme Dao expert. Therefore, he didn't hesitate and increased his speed to the fastest as he dashed towards the first agreed-upon location. If the Dark Mysterious Snake and the Sky-Devouring Lion Dragon arrived in time, they would gather at the first location. If they didn't, they would gather at the Tortoise King Mountain. As long as they arrived at the Tortoise King Mountain and the transportation formation was activated, even if Xian Tianwen were to step out, he could only sigh helplessly. That Ruo Ping fairy was evasive and used Shui Ruolin to threaten me. She just wanted to save her own life. Since that demonic woman Miao Yin admired Ruolin so much, logically speaking, she wouldn't harm her. Today, I have important matters to attend to. After weighing the pros and cons, of course I have no time to ask about this matter. If I have time in the future, I'll go to the Illusion Heavenly Lake again. As he was thinking, Qin Wushuang suddenly had a strange thought flash through his mind. He felt that something was wrong with this matter. However, no matter how hard he racked his brains, he could not figure out what was wrong. When Xian Tianwen received the news of the 5 elders being killed immediately, he was greatly astonished. Bad news kept coming one after another. Only now did he realize that his home had been raided. Additionally, the person who raided his home was Qin Wushuang. Xian Tianwen was truly enraged as he led his team back while gnashing his teeth. What welcomed him was a complete mess. There were also a pile of death lists. Although not many of those core elders had died, Xian Tianhong, his most trusted one, had died. He was the talent that had the most hope to become a Supreme Dao elite warrior in the Xian clan. Xian Tianwen's heart was bleeding. Among the young disciples, there were also many casualties. Although they were not the most exceptional ones, they had definitely damaged the vitality of the Xian clan. Certainly, they would have a shortage of talents. The most fatal part was that the ancestral hall of the Xian clan was destroyed. That was the sacred place where the heroic souls of generations of the Xian clan slept. Yet, it had turned into a pile of ruins. As he looked at this pile of ruins, purple clouds erupted from Xian Tianwen's face. Suddenly, he gave a long roar to the sky. His voice shook the clouds as he roared with all his strength. It sounded as ferocious as a wild beast. Qin clan, if I don't destroy your clan, I swear I am not a human. Qin Wushuang, if I don't break your bones and scatter your ashes, how can I get rid of the hatred in my heart? Xian Tianwen's heart was dripping blood. If a few people had died, the Xian clan would not be too frustrated. However, with the destruction of the ancestral hall, without a doubt, it would become the greatest joke of the Xian Yuan Mound. At this moment, the status and dignity of the Xian clan, the pride and glory of the Heavenly Emperor Gate had all been trampled under the feet of Qin Wushuang. They had lost all their dignity. Almost at the same time, the Heavenly Punishing Villa and the Sound of Thunder sect also received bad news. They had almost received the same treatment and the same disaster. However, it was 2 spiritual beasts at the peak of the common mysterious stage that attacked them. These 2 brutal spiritual beasts were not interested in destroying buildings. However, their brutality was not the slightest bit weak. It was because their hobby was killing people. At the same time, when the Heavenly Emperor Gate was attacked, the remaining people of these two sects almost encountered an inhumane massacre. In less than half a day, at least 500 people died. Additionally, these vicious beasts were not picky when they killed people. They would kill anyone they saw alive. It could be said that they did not leave even a chicken or dog alive. They suffered heavy losses. The Heavenly Emperor Gate, the Heavenly Punishing Villa, and the Sound of Thunder sect. Now, everyone knew that this was the counterattack of the Qin clan, the revenge of the Qin clan. The Qin clan had said that the Qin clan would destroy all sects that participated in the Heavenly Emperor Party. It seemed that these were not empty words. If the Thousand Feather sect, the mysterious Reform Gate, and the 100 Lane clan, these three originally neutral sects, were somewhat lucky in the beginning, then at this moment, when they saw the misfortune of the Heavenly Emperor Gate, the Heavenly Punishing Villa, and the Sound of Thunder sect, they understood one principle. The Qin clan would do what they said. Additionally, it was clear that people had already escaped from the Qin clan, especially that Qin Wushuang. Everyone had witnessed his power with their own eyes. It would not be a problem for him to kill Lei Ming, a Supreme Dao elite warrior. For such figure, if he was allowed to grow for a while, when he achieved great success and entered the Supreme Dao stage, certainly it would be a bloody scene when he returned. By that time, most likely even the Heavenly Emperor Gate would not be able to stop him from killing people. Thinking here, indeed, everyone felt insecure, especially those three neutral sects. Thinking about it now, the Qin clan still left some leeway and dealt with the main culprits first. If there was a next time, most likely these three powerhouses would be the ones to suffer a calamity. When the Heavenly Emperor Gate was attacked, they would have the chance to recover. The foundation of these three major sects was not as profound as the Xian clan. Once they were attacked, it would be difficult to say whether they could recover. In case their Supreme Dao elite warriors were killed by the Qin clan, it would be the same as being completely removed from the Heavenly Emperor Eight Gates. Thinking here, these three major sects trembled inwardly. Now, it was too late for regrets. Initially, they should not have been suppressed by the power of the Heavenly Emperor. If they had remained as neutral as the Yun clan, at least they could have united around the Yun clan when encountering a problem. With their three powerhouses and the Yun clan together, perhaps they could have fought against the Heavenly Emperor Gate. Now, they did not please either side and offended the Qin clan. Before they could even get a good word from the Heavenly Emperor, both sides were not human. Xian Tianwen was bursting with anger. Just when he was furious, Xian Wuji asked to see him. Regardless of how angry he was, Xian Tianwen did not lack patience for this precious son. After hearing Xian Wuji's narration, Xian Tianwen gave a long sigh. Hateful Tianhong. Usually he is full of wisdom and schemes. At this moment, he was tricked by someone without distinguishing right from wrong. Wuji, you did well. A real man knows when to yield and when not to. You were able to get away with it before that kid sneaked back to the mountain gate to open the defenses and protect the Heavenly Emperor Gate from getting attacked. It's also your contribution. Xian Wuji shook his head painfully. Father, inside my heart, you don't know how much pain I am in. When I saw that kid flaunting his power, I was powerless. On the contrary, I had a compromise. I can't wait to swallow his flesh and drink his blood. Wuji, no need to be troubled. I will certainly seek justice for you. Since this Qin Wushuang left the defenses of the Qin clan, I promise that he will die for sure. Father, that Qin Wushuang is as cunning as a ghost. I also let him fall in my trap. When I was feigning civility with him, I secretly planted a tracking talisman on him. He did not realize it. This tracking talisman should work for 10 days to half a month. I saw that he did not seem to return to the Qin clan. Xian Tianwen was overjoyed. After a moment of silence, he sent his spiritual perception. Tianwu, come see me quickly. Xian Tianwu immediately came before Xian Tianwen. Your Majesty, it's my pleasure to meet you. Tianwu, you and Lei Yu take Luo Tongtian. The three of you will take Wuji to chase and kill that Qin Wuxuan. You must not let him get away. Wu Ji planted a tracking talisman on him. Follow this tracking talisman and use your fastest speed. You must catch up to this guy before the tracking talisman loses its effect. Yes, go and come back quickly. Watch out for the graceful spiritual bow. Regardless, I must see him if he is alive, and his corpse if he is dead. Additionally, you must get that graceful spiritual bow. You must not lose it. Xian Tianwu said, "Rest assured, Your Majesty. That graceful spiritual bow only killed Lei Ming by luck. Tianwu and Lei Yu are elite warriors at the Transformation Supreme Dao stage. How could we fall into that kid's trap?" Xian Tianwen said lightly, "Do not underestimate the enemy. Go." As he watched Xian Tianwu and the others leave, Xian Tianwen reorganized his mood and walked towards the Divine Palace. Now, Xian Tianwu, Lei Yu, and Luo Tongtian had already left. At the scene, only Xian Tianchong, the two supreme Dao warriors of the Xian clan, as well as Yin Beifei and Yin Guinan remained. The leaders of the other three major sects were outside the Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace and did not enter. Xian Tianwen frowned slightly. "Where are they?" "Your Majesty, those three powerhouses seem to be somewhat shaken," Xian Tianchen said with a worried expression. "Shaken? Up to this point, do they think they still have a way out? If they withdraw now, the Qin clan will not appreciate it. How can I let them go easily?" While they were speaking, the six supreme Dao elite warriors of the three powerhouses walked in with fear and trepidation. They arrived before Xian Tianwen directly and knelt down on ground. "Your Majesty, please let us go. Your Majesty, the three sects truly cannot afford to play anymore. Your Majesty, please let us return to our respective mountain gates." Xian Tianwen revealed an ashen expression as he shouted, "What are you doing? Withdraw. Do you think you can still withdraw? Will the Qin clan appreciate your kindness? And how could my Xian clan tolerate cowards and traitors who run away before the battle? Your Majesty, no need to speak. That Qin clan is already struggling at death's door. In 10 years, the Qin clan will surely break. You don't need to worry about the Qin clan taking revenge on you. With Tianwu and Lei Yu chasing after that Qin Wuxuan, he will not escape death. He will not be able to make any big waves." Currently, Qin Wuxuan was rushing towards the Tortoise King Mountain at full speed. At this moment, his mind had already flown to the 7 terminal arrays formation. What kind of fortuitous opportunities would there be at the 5th loop? To be continued. If you want to know about the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 727. Dark Mysterious Snake and Swallowing Sky Lion Dragon were extremely punctual. At the first designated location, they successfully regrouped with Qin Wuxuan. Qin Wuxuan did not have the time to ask about the battle situation. It was because from the observant finger jade plate, he saw that 3 elite warriors of the Supreme Dao were tracking towards his direction. The observant finger jade plate automatically collected spiritual perception. Therefore, Qin Wuxuan easily judged that these people were Xian Tianwu of the Heavenly Emperor Gate, Lei Yu of the Sound of Thunder sect, and Luo Tongtian of the Heavenly Luo Daoist sect. Good one, 2 elite warriors of the Transformation Supreme Dao stage. Xian Tianwen truly values me. Inwardly, Qin Wuxuan found it funny. With the purple cloud yin-yang wings, if he urged his flying speed with all his strength, his speed would not lose to elite warriors of the Supreme Dao. Most importantly, he possessed the spiritual power pearl. He would not need to rest in the middle of the journey and could travel long distances. For such advantage, even elite warriors of the Supreme Dao could not compare to it. Therefore, in this leg competition, both sides were evenly matched. After 3 days, he received Murong Su's spiritual perception that she had already arrived at the Tortoise King Mountain. Following Qin Wuxuan's route instructions, she had successfully entered the mountain cave. Inwardly, Qin Wuxuan was greatly reassured. He told her to wait quietly at that mountain cave and not to worry. At most, he would arrive in half a month. When Murong Su arrived safely, it allowed Qin Wushuang to have less worries. He decided to have some fun with this group of pursuers. After several evolutions, the purple cloud Yin Yang wings were no longer the same as before. It would not be a problem to support Qin Wushuang's long-distance flight. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang also found it strange. These elite warriors of the Supreme Tao were at the Qin clan. How could they lock onto his position and chase after him with such a clear goal? Initially at the 10,000 Flower Valley, that Xian Wuji used the tracking talisman on me and was able to follow me. Could it be these elite warriors of the Supreme Tao are repeating the same trick? However, they're attacking the aspiring Throne Mountain from tens and thousands of miles away. How could they use the tracking talisman on me? Qin Wushuang could not figure it out no matter how much he thought about it. Thinking back, from beginning to end, he had not come into contact with any elite warriors during the process of invading the Xian clan. There was no possibility of him being poisoned. Could it be the defenses of the Heavenly Emperor Gate of the Xian clan can automatically place tracking talismans? As Qin Wushuang thought this way, he immediately felt it was unlikely. If the Xian clan was able to place a tracking talisman, why didn't they launch a surprise attack on him directly? When he entered the Xian clan, the seal was not activated. By the time the restriction was activated, he had already rushed out. At that time, the graceful spiritual bow was leading the way. How could the tracking talisman get close to him before the aura of the graceful spiritual bow? No, it shouldn't be the doing of the Xian clan's restrictive spells. Qin Wushuang's mind was in a mess as he began to think carefully. He recounted from beginning to end how he had come to the Heavenly Emperor Mountain, captured Xian Wuchou, the puppet, until he had left the Heavenly Emperor Gate. The first time, he did not discover anything. The second time, when he was talking about that Ruo Ping fairy, Qin Wushuang felt a burst of throbbing without reason. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat as he remembered the doubt in his mind from earlier. When he was thinking about this appointment with Ruo Ping fairy, he felt something was wrong. Now, when he thought about it carefully, he felt that there was a lump of dark clouds surrounding this Ruo Ping fairy. Could the problem be with her? Since Qin Wushuang had sensed a trace of something was wrong, he carefully recalled the conversation he had with Ruo Ping fairy. That woman said that she had a relationship with Xian Wuji. The facts prove that Xian Wuji had indeed seduced Ruo Ping fairy and used a relationship to track me. This was true. Or else, how could he have escaped from that 10,000 Flower Valley to chase after me? Ruo Ping fairy's words should be true. However, suddenly, Qin Wushuang's expression froze. She said she had taken care of Xian Wuji's remains. When Xian Wuji's body exploded, there was nothing left of him. Even his weapon had turned into fine powder. How could she have taken care of his remains? Could she have taken some soil from the area where he had exploded? Vividly, Qin Wushuang felt something was wrong. That woman is lying. She did not appear at the Heavenly Emperor Gate to deliver Xian Wuji's remains. She must have other intentions. However, even if she had other intentions, even if she had received the orders from old devilish woman Miao Yun to form an alliance with the Heavenly Emperor Gate to deal with my Qin clan, it would be a distant water that cannot quench the immediate thirst. How could the Amei Taoist sect dare to cross the forbidden spiritual zones and get involved with the internal affairs of the Xianyuan Mound? Clearly, this is impossible. Crossing the forbidden spiritual zones and getting involved with the internal affairs of Xianyuan Mound was definitely not something the Amei Taoist sect would have the courage to do. Instantly, Qin Wushuang rejected this possibility. Just what does that woman want? Qin Wushuang felt that his head was about to explode. If someone had used a tracking talisman on me, this woman is the most suspicious. However, if the Amei Taoist sect were to help the Heavenly Emperor Gate in secret, they would not have just sent an insignificant head disciple. For a battle at the level of the Heavenly Emperor Mountain, what could a little Ruo Ping fairy do? Could it be that woman is not Ruo Ping fairy? Is she someone from the Heavenly Emperor Gate? Could that commanding plate of the Amei Taoist sect be a fake? Qin Wushuang also felt it was unlikely. The martial artists of the Heavenly Emperor Gate were mainly male. Besides Xin Tianwu, there were no exceptional female martial artists. As for Ruo Ping Fairy, her cultivation was indeed at the exquisite mysterious realm. This was not false at all. If she were a disciple of the Heavenly Emperor Gate, she should be famous for having the strength of the exquisite mysterious boundary stage. How could he have never heard of her? Therefore, that woman should be that Ruo Ping Fairy. As Qin Wushuang thought about it, he did not have a single clue. The only thing he was sure of was that most likely it was that Ruo Ping Fairy who had used the tracking talisman on him. Indeed, this woman harbors unfathomable motives. At that time, if I was not in a hurry to attack the Heavenly Emperor Gate, and if I was not considering my relationship with Ruo Lan, how could I have let her leave so easily? As Qin Wushuang thought inwardly, he could not help but look at the observant finger jade plate. Hm, how could it be like this? Instantly, Qin Wushuang was stunned. In these past few days, he had been paying attention to the tracking of those 3 supreme Tao elite warriors. However, he did not realize that under the powerful spiritual perception of these 3 supreme Tao elite warriors, there was a slightly weaker spiritual perception. Indeed, this spiritual perception belonged to Ruo Ping Fairy, whom he had encountered at the Heavenly Emperor Gate. What made Qin Wushuang feel the most astonished was that vividly, the spiritual perception of this Ruo Ping Fairy gave him a familiar feeling. What was going on? Qin Wushuang felt it was inconceivable. This had completely surpassed his common sense. For this Ruo Ping Fairy, before this encounter at the Heavenly Emperor Gate, Qin Wushuang was certain that he had never seen her before. How could he feel a sense of déjà vu from her spiritual perception? The most unexpected thing was that this spiritual perception seemed to be familiar. It was incredibly tyrannical and made Qin Wushuang remember an incredibly terrifying and impossible existence. Yes, it was Xian Wuji. This spiritual perception had made Qin Wushuang think of Xian Wuji. Although compared to the Xian Wuji of the past, he was more or less different. He was less flamboyant and more calm and ruthless. However, that surge of ruthlessness had been passed down from the same origin. If Qin Wushuang had not sensed it carefully, he would not have been able to taste the subtlety within it. As a cloud of doubt rose from his heart, he repeatedly and carefully identified it. He realized that indeed, the presence of this spiritual perception was the same as that Xian Wuji. However, this observant finger jade plate clearly showed that it was Ruo Ping Fairy. Therefore, this had made Qin Wushuang feel that his common sense had been overturned. Could it be that the observant finger jade plate is displaying something wrong? Qin Wushuang felt that it was unlikely. Even a supreme Tao elite warrior would not make it wrong. How could Xian Wuji have such great skill? Ruo Ping Fairy said that she had a one-night stand with Xian Wuji. Could it be that the spiritual perception of these two could merge through some illicit matters? This also doesn't seem right. Unless they were in eternal dual training, it would be impossible for their spiritual perception to merge. You have me in you, and I have you in me. It would be impossible for a one-night stand to leave such a deep spiritual perception mark. Qin Wushuang rejected the idea of fusion without hesitation. However, how could he explain all of this? Qin Wushuang decided to use his divine power to investigate his own situation. If that tracking talisman was still there, he should be able to feel it, even if it was just a little trace. He channeled his divine power and started to sense the trace of the tracking talisman. Indeed, to Qin Wushuang's astonishment, this tracking talisman still carried Xian Wuji's strong personal mark. Xian Wuji. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang felt bursts of terrifying emptiness. Could it be that this Xian Wuji is not dead? When he thought of this terrifying thought, Qin Wushuang felt waves of throbbing. Xian Wuji was not an elite warrior of the Supreme Tao. It was impossible for his divine soul to leave his body and abandon his body. Regardless, this Ruo Ping fairy must not be left alive. There are too many suspicious points about this person. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang thought to himself, perhaps Xan Wuji also knows how to control puppets. He controlled Ruo Ping fairy and made her unswervingly loyal. Therefore, there are traces of Xian Wuji in her spiritual perception. If that's the case, with Xian Wuji's death, this puppet manipulation would have been removed. There would not be any traces of Xian Wuji. Since Xian Wuji's presence was still there was only one possibility. Xian Wuji was not dead. Qin Wushuang mumbled and cursed. Xian Wuji, this guy, I could not see through him when he faked his death and self-detonated right before my eyes. It seems that the son of the Heavenly Emperor does have some skills. I just don't know how he, at the peak of the common mysterious stage, was able to use his primordial spirit to leave his body and still live after taking over Ruo Ping fairy's body. Now, Qin Wushuang was almost certain that this Xian Wuji should not be dead. He must have used Ruo Ping fairy's body to resurrect himself. No wonder at the Karakorma mortal clan, I did not see this Ruo Ping fairy. As the head disciple of the Ame Taoist sect and the host of the 10,000 Flower Valley, how could she not show herself? It must be. A trace of regret flashed across Qin Wushuang's mind. Initially, he was in a rush to attack the Heavenly Emperor Gate and neglected this Ruo Ping fairy. Unexpectedly, Xian Wuji was right before his eyes. Certainly that Xian Wuji is afraid of me. Or else, how could he use the identity of Ruo Ping fairy to pretend to be polite to me? It's good that you're not dead. Then this time I will send you to the Western Paradise. An evil thought flashed across Qin Wushuang's mind. Instantly, murderous intentions surged like the tide from his heart. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 728. Initially, Qin Wushuang planned to erase the faint presence of that tracking talisman. However, with another thought, if he were to erase it, wouldn't he be telling the other party that he already knew they were tracking him? This would not achieve the effect of luring the enemy. I must let them feel a trace of hope. Or else, if they could not catch up to me after tracking me for a while, certainly they would have the intention to retreat. In that case, how could I kill that suspected Xian Wuji? If this person does not die, my heart will not be at peace. I must kill him. When Qin Wushuang thought here, he did not erase the presence of that tracking talisman. As long as he did not lose to the other party in terms of speed, he would have the capital to lure the enemy in for a surprise attack. After all, the observant finger jade plate was not to be trifled with. Spreading out the map of the Xian Yuan Mound, Qin Wushuang started a search for a sniping spot. Along the way, Qin Wushuang was already familiar with the terrain. In the end, he decided to choose a deep mountain of the 100 Victory Prefecture as the sniping spot. This mountain was called the Phoenix Mountain. The terrain was rather steep. Regardless of the sniping or the retreat after the sniping, it would be advantageous. Most importantly, after calculating the time, when he arrived at the Phoenix Mountain, it would be when the effect of the tracking talisman was about to end. At that time, it would be the most anxious time for the enemy. When they were at their most anxious, he would give them a trace of hope and take advantage of their weakness. After making up his mind, Qin Wushuang no longer had any doubts as he rushed towards the Phoenix Mountain with all his strength. The Phoenix Mountain was about 40 to 60% of the distance between the Heavenly Emperor Mountain and the Tortoise King Mountain. It was about 40% away from the Tortoise King Mountain and 60% away from the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. It could be said that when he arrived at the Phoenix Mountain, he was already halfway there. On the other hand, Xian Tianwu and the others could not close the distance with Qin Wushuang during the first few days of tracking. Even Luo Tongtian swore, "This kid, initially when he came to cause trouble in my heavenly Luo Taoist sect, he did not even dare to come out when he saw me. How come he has improved so quickly? His speed is on par with elite warriors of the Supreme Tao stage? That kid has a pair of wings, similar to your Majesty's Heavenly Emperor wings. He has an advantage in terms of speed. You and I are flying in the air, yet he has wings. He has the advantage in terms of flying speed and posture. They consume less spiritual qi than us. Xian Tianwu analyzed calmly. When talking about Qin Wuxuan's pair of wings, Xian Wuji also swore angrily. That kid is neither a human nor a demon. I don't know where he got that pair of wings. Although Xian Wuji spoke with a sour tone, inwardly, he was extremely envious of that pair of wings. For your information, across the entire Xianyuan mound, he did not know about the totem powerhouses. Among the non-totem powerhouses, only his father, Xian Tianwan, the Honorable Heavenly Emperor, had such a pair of wings. That was an exclusive brand. There was no other brand. Unexpectedly, Qin Wuxuang encountered this exclusive signboard. Fellow Taoist Tian Wu, even if that Qin Wuxuang consumes less spirit energy than us, he isn't a supreme Tao powerhouse after all. After trekking for such a long time, he'll surely exhaust his energy. In the past 2 days, I can clearly feel that the distance between us has shortened. This guy must be exhausted. This was Lei Yu's voice. Xian Tianwu said with a low voice. When competing with an elite warrior of the Supreme Tao in terms of leg power, he will surely die. However, I am wondering whether he already knows we are tracking him. Xian Wuji said, "This is not impossible. Initially, when I was tracking him at the 10,000 Flower Valley, he seemed to know. He let me chase him for a long time. After all, your tracking talisman is not a supreme Tao skill. He can sense it by sensing it. With his cautiousness, it's not impossible for him to sense it. However, what if he sensed it? Since he caused a great disturbance at the Heavenly Emperor Gate, certainly he is mentally prepared to be chased by us. Everyone, don't be in a rush. Although this guy is cunning, once he leaves the defenses of the Qin clan as an elite warrior beneath the Supreme Tao stage, he will not be able to escape. Even if he escapes to other forbidden spiritual zones, as long as there are clues along the way, we can catch up to him." Xian Tianwu was still incredibly optimistic. We must not let him enter other forbidden spiritual zones. Lei Yu shook his head. In that case, it will be troublesome for us to chase after him. Yes, it would be best if we can finish the battle at the Xianyuan Mount. However, I see that this kid's escape route should be heading towards the human countries. Could it be this kid wants to return to the human countries? Xian Tianwu asked strangely. Why don't we go to the human countries and annihilate that brat's secular family? How about it? Luo Tongtian's hatred towards Qin Wuxuang could not be described with a few words. Therefore, his first thought was to destroy Qin Wuxuang's entire family. Xian Tianwu's expression froze. Taoist Tongtian, did you not suffer enough last time? The great battle at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain was a competition between sects inside the forbidden spiritual zones. For you to go to the human countries, you were already given a way out by the Heavenly Emperor. Or else, I am afraid your Heavenly Luo Taoist sect would have already been removed from the Xianyuan Mount. The human countries are not as simple as you think. If you think you can do whatever you want in the human countries, then you are wrong. Once the other forbidden spiritual zones are lured to deal with the Xianyuan Mound together, then we will have committed a great sin. The other forbidden spiritual zones are attacking the Xianyuan Mound together for the mere human countries? Luo Tongtian felt this matter sounded so unreliable. Xian Tianwu said with a cold sneer, Luo Tongtian, your Heavenly Luo Taoist sect claims to have a legacy in the human countries. Your understanding of the human countries is still so shallow. Anyways, for many things, although I'm not clear, I know that the human countries are not that simple. If you do not want to incite a chaotic war among the forbidden spiritual zones, it's best to not burn the flames of war to the human countries. Or else, most likely it will cause public outrage. Inwardly, Luo Tongtian smacked his tongue. Now, he knew why the Heavenly Emperor still strictly ordered them to touch the human countries despite clearly disliking the Qin clan. Most likely, this reason was within. Yet, he did not dare to ask. After chasing for another 2 days, the smile on Lei Yu's face became even richer. Good, the distance is shortened again. That kid must have exhausted all his strength. Let's work harder. In less than 2 days, we will catch up to him. Once that guy's Dantian is exhausted, he will stop to rest. It's impossible for him to recover without 3 or 5 days. Therefore, our good opportunity has come. Xin Tianwu also laughed. That kid thinks he can defy the natural order with a pair of wings. He doesn't know that for elite warriors beneath the supreme Tao stage, in the end there is a difference between them. It's not something his wings can make up for. Xin Wuji rubbed his hands, and strong murderous intentions were revealed from his eyes. And Tianwu, if it's possible, you must capture that Qin Wushuang alive. I still want him to suffer a bit before he dies. Xin Tianwu said leisurely. Wuji, just wait. I will certainly make him suffer a fate worse than death. Tantian, you are in charge of protecting Wuji. Lei Yu, you and I are both at the Transformation Supreme Tao stage. We will be more thorough in our defense of the graceful spiritual Bao. As long as we do not underestimate the enemy, we will not need to worry about that Bao. Qin Wushuang's greatest trump card is the graceful spiritual Bao. If the graceful spiritual Bao cannot deal with you and me, he will have no other trump cards. Lei Yu nodded. All right, just as Daoist Tianwu said, you and I will be in charge of capturing this Qin Wushuang. Although Luo Tongtian felt somewhat regretful, he also knew that he had only just entered the Coagulate Supreme Tao stage. Compared to these two elite warriors at the Transformation Supreme Tao stage, there was still a huge difference. When facing Qin Wushuang's graceful spiritual Bao, even Lei Ming at the 5th calamity of the Coagulate Supreme Tao stage was killed instantly, not to mention him. Therefore, not allowing him to make a move was also a form of protection. Following the gradual loss of the tracking talisman, the distance between them and Qin Wushuang kept shrinking. This caused Xin Tianwu and the others' fighting spirit to multiply. Daoist Tianwu, that Qin Wushuang is already showing signs of exhaustion. I estimate that he will certainly find a place to rest. Shouldn't you and I restrain our presence and approach quietly? Xin Tianwu muttered to herself irresolutely, analyzed the terrain ahead. Xin Wuji was already studying the terrain as he said, We've already entered the 100 Victory Prefecture. Naturally, the most secretive place of this prefecture is the Phoenix Mountain. If that Qin Wushuang were to choose a place to hide, certainly it would be the Phoenix Mountain. Phoenix Mountain, then let this Phoenix Mountain become Qin Wushuang's burial place. Xin Tianwu said with an expressionless face. Like lightning, 4 figures flashed across the sky above the 100 Victory Prefecture and dropped to the area of the Phoenix Mountain. They were already certain that this Qin Wushuang must be in this area. By the way, Daoist Tianwu, do you think this Qin Wushuang can also grasp our whereabouts? If that's the case, even if he were to die, he would not choose to stop, right? Lei Yu said with concern. If he can grasp our whereabouts and still choose to stop, I am afraid he is plotting something. How can he grasp our whereabouts? Can he place tracking talismans? Even if he has this skill, we are far away in the Qin clan. By the time we return, he would have already left the Heavenly Emperor Gate, Xin Tianwu analyzed. This is true, but Lei Yu still wanted to say something. All of a sudden, Luo Tongtian slapped his thigh. I am confused. This Qin Wushuang has a monstrous tool called the Observant Finger Jade Plate. Suddenly, Luo Tongtian remembered that this Qin Wushuang was the guy that inherited Lu Xianluo's unfulfilled wish. Luo Tongtian always wanted to get this object from Lu Xianluo. Naturally, he was extremely familiar with it. During this time, he never thought in this direction. Now, when he suddenly remembered, his heart trembled inexplicably. Lei Yu's complexion also changed slightly. This way, indeed this Qin Wushuang knows our whereabouts. However, Xin Tianwu denied it. For a craftsman that is not at the Supreme Tao stage, the things he makes can lock onto the position of Supreme Tao elite warriors? I don't believe it. Not to mention, when we returned to the Heavenly Emperor Gate, he had already left. Can the observant finger jade plate collect our divine sense aura from tens of thousands of miles away? Luo, Tongtian mumbled. I am afraid that initially at the Heavenly Emperor Gate, when Qin Shaodian took him there, he had already collected everyone's spiritual perception. Xian Tianwu said with a cold sneer, Do you guys think that this Qin Wushuang is qualified to ambush us here? Lei Yu said seriously, We cannot underestimate the enemy. Although Lei Yu wanted to seek revenge from Qin Wushuang wholeheartedly, during this time, he deeply felt that this Qin Wushuang was not easy to deal with. Therefore, he became cautious inwardly. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 729. Xian Tianwu still did not agree. She raised the corner of her mouth slightly and carried a few traces of arrogance. Inside the mountain gate of the Qin clan, they have defenses and mountain protection formations. I cannot do anything to him. Outside the Qin clan, if I cannot even deal with an elite warrior beneath the Supreme Tao stage, I would have trained to the third calamity of the Transformation Supreme Tao stage in vain. Suzerain Lei Yu, you do not lose to me in terms of strength. Do you think that even if that Qin Wushuang intended to ambush here, with his strength, even with the graceful spiritual bow, could he do anything to you and me? If it's that Qin Wushuang alone, truly he cannot threaten you and me. However, this guy has too many variables. Who knows what kind of tricks he can play? Lei Yu did not dare to boast, as he was strangely cautious. A trace of mockery flashed across her eyes as Xian Tianwu said, In this case, I will go track him alone. Suzerain Lei Yu, you stay here and don't take the risk. Lei Yu laughed. Dao is Tianwu. How could I be a person that is afraid of trouble? Fear the wolf in front and the tiger in the back. It's because of this mentality that allowed that kid to be arrogant until now. If I had made up my mind to get rid of this person earlier, he would not have been left alive to cause trouble. Xian Tianwu's tone was extremely decisive. Today, regardless, we must not let him fly out of this Phoenix Mountain. After she finished speaking, Xian Tianwu dashed and transformed into a burst of red light that shone across the entire horizon. She initiated her Supreme Tao presence all of a sudden. Instantly, half of the sky above the entire Phoenix Mountain was burned red. Indeed, like a long red dragon, Xian Tianwu's figure danced in the sky with astonishing, imposing manner. The frightening aura caused all the spiritual beasts in Phoenix Mountain to flee in terror. They were all terrified. Clearly, these spiritual beasts also sensed a burst of powerful crisis approaching. The powerful Supreme Tao presence broke the tranquility of the Phoenix Mountain. Xian Tianwu initiated her spiritual perception and started to search. The Supreme Tao presence gushed out and transformed into bursts of notes that kept piercing down like the tip of a needle. Qin Wushuang, I know you are hiding at this Phoenix Mountain. Today, even if I have to raise this Phoenix Mountain to the ground and move the mountains and overturn the sea, I will drag you out. Come out, come out. The echoes formed rows and rows of air waves, pouring down like a storm. Any powerhouse below the divine Tao realm who heard this kind of divine Tao note would feel waves of palpitations, and their mind would be shaken. They would have to circulate their qi and resist it with all their might. Otherwise, it was very likely that the divine Tao musical note would pierce through his primordial spirit. However, at this moment, Qin Wushuang was at ease. Although he did not enter the divine Tao realm, regardless of whether it was the physical body or the divine sense realm, Qin Wushuang was not the slightest bit weaker than the divine Tao realm. Thus, this sort of divine Tao note was utterly incapable of setting off tempestuous waves in his heart, and it was only like a cool breeze brushing past his face and he didn't feel much of anything at all. Clearly, although the imposing manner of this Exine Tianwu was surging, she could not lock onto his position. However, Qin Wushuang, could clearly locate their position. When Lei Yu saw Exine Tianwu unleashing her power, he did not dare to fall behind. His figure transformed into a white light, and like lightning, he whistled in the middle of the sky. For a time, lightning flashed and thunder rolled as he went along with Exine Tianwu. To the entire Phoenix Mountain, when two Transformation Supreme Dao elite warriors unleashed their divine power together, it was truly a disaster. Low-level spiritual beasts had their primordial spirits shattered and died on the spot. Spiritual beasts of a higher level could not endure it, as they all fled madly towards the outside of the Phoenix Mountain. The sudden arrival of the Doomsday caused the Phoenix Mountain to fall into a boundless disaster. Qin Wushuang fixed his gaze at these two supreme Dao elite warriors in the sky, and a trace of a proud smile spilled from the corner of his mouth. He lifted the graceful spiritual bow and dashed forward all of a sudden. Whoosh! At the same time as his body dashed forward, he activated the graceful spiritual bow. With a few whooshing sounds, the shooting sun arrows pierced through the sky continuously. Shooting from left and right, he shot 4 arrows continuously. 2 in a group, he aimed at Exine Tianwu and Lei Yu. Since he shot 4 arrows at once, naturally he did not dare to let down his guard against Transformation Supreme Dao elite warriors. Of course, he also knew that even if he shot all 9 arrows, it would be impossible to defeat these Transformation Supreme Dao elite warriors. His goal was only to slow down their momentum. As the saying goes, create a diversion to the east and strike in the west. His true target was Luo Tongtian and Exine Wuji. Indeed, when Luo Tongtian saw a figure dashing out all of a sudden, his eyes turned cold instantly. His pupils contracted rapidly as he roared, "To Daoist friends, Qin Wushuang! It's Qin Wushuang!" As soon as his voice dropped, Qin Wushuang urged his wings and had already expanded from a black into a giant figure. His wings covered the sky as he launched an attack. "Luo Tongtian, today, it's you who has come to die." Qin Wushuang roared with laughter. "Watch my arrows." When Luo Tongtian heard these words, he was shocked inwardly. He initiated the presence of his entire body and transformed into a burst of meteoric light to dash towards the sky. Clearly, he would not dare to confront the shooting sun arrows head-on. On the other hand, Exine Wuji was scared out of his wits. He did not expect that Qin Wushuang would attack so suddenly. The most terrifying part was that this Qin Wushuang did not seem to show any signs of spiritual qi exhaustion. On the contrary, he was full of vigor as if he had rested for 10 days or half a month and was at the peak of his power. 1 arrow, 2 arrows, 3 arrows. Like the northern goshawk chasing its prey, the 3 shooting sun arrows pierced through the blue dome of heaven with unstoppable power. They shortened the distance of space and caught up with Luo Tongtian despite being launched later. At this moment, the disadvantage of entering the Coagulate Supreme Dao stage was revealed without a doubt. Luo Tongtian realized that as soon as he had gotten rid of the first arrow, the following arrows were approaching him with even more ferocious power. When the shooting sun arrows arrived, the 3 bursts of golden lights were like 3 rampaging vicious beasts that emitted a suffocating, devouring power. Luo Tongtian only felt a surge of scorching power invade his body. For a time, it seemed that this wave of heat had locked all of his life force. In the next moment, Luo Tongtian's divine soul trembled with despair. A mournful cry pierced through the vast sky. Almost at the same time, the golden lights increased tremendously. The dazzling lights rushed to the extreme as if a round of scorching sun had suddenly exploded. Tens and thousands of golden lights shot out and shattered Luo Tongtian's body into pieces. Before that fragile divine soul had the time to escape, it was swallowed by the golden lights and twisted into pieces. Almost in the blink of an eye, the life of a supreme Tao elite warrior had been harvested. With one move of the graceful spiritual bow, Qin Wushuang seemed to have descended from the ancient murderous god. With an aggressive temperament, his murderous intentions became even richer. However, his hands did not stop as he locked onto Xian Wuji with a graceful spiritual bow. Qin Wushuang said word by word with a cold tone, "Xian Wuji, do you think that you can avoid death by disguising yourself as a woman? Today, let me see how you escape this calamity." Before his voice had dropped, the shooting sun arrows had already shot out. The golden lights were like dragons, and the imposing manner like tigers. It swallowed the wind and clouds and tore the sky apart. For a time, it seemed that only this tyrannical golden lights covered the entire blue dome of heaven in the entire sky. As soon as Qin Wushuang appeared, Xian Wuji knew that something was wrong. He cried out, "Ants, save me!" Then, he turned around and drilled into the ground. Will it work if you use the same old trick? With a gloomy gaze, Qin Wushuang used a form of judgment to watch that golden light hit Xian Wuji's back at an even faster speed before he drilled into the ground. Boom! This time, Xian Wuji did not have the slightest trace of luck. When he was hit by this golden light, his entire body exploded at a visible speed. The shooting sun arrows hitting him was different than him exploding himself. He could cheat by self-exploding. However, the shooting sun arrows would not cooperate with him to cheat. Xian Wuji only felt a burst of despair inwardly. An endless sense of absurdity flashed across his mind. In the next moment, it had become an eternity of death. The son of the heavenly emperor was struggling at death's door. In the end, he could not escape death. After Qin Wushuang had succeeded, he gave a long roar to the sky. "Hexen Tianwu, Lei Yu, if you have the guts, come after me. I would like to see how far you two can chase me." He waved his arm, and all the shooting sun arrows transformed into golden lights to stick to his body. Pushed by this golden light, Qin Wushuang's body moved even faster. He urged his wings and already dashed into the sky. He merged with the white clouds in the sky and became indistinguishable. Now, Xian Tianwu and Lei Yu rushed out from the tens and thousands of golden lights. They looked at each other, and a trace of fear and uneasiness flashed across their eyes. This son of the Qin clan was getting more and more difficult to deal with. Appearing and disappearing unpredictably, even Transformation Supreme Tao warriors like them could not capture his whereabouts. "Daoist Tianwu, we are in big trouble." Lei Yu looked at the direction where Xian Wuji had been killed, and his face was devoid of blood. When Luo Tongtian died, they would not even bat an eyelid. However, Xian Wuji was the son of the Heavenly Emperor, the bloodline of the Heavenly Emperor. He had followed them out and was shot to death by Qin Wushuang before their eyes. This was big trouble. Xian Tianwu's face was ashen. It was the first time she felt such a strong sense of defeat. An elite warrior at the Transformation Supreme Tao stage could not do anything to someone beneath the Supreme Tao stage, someone she had always regarded as an ant. Qin Wushuang, I want you dead. Xian Tianwu's mournful roar shook the entire 100 Victory Prefecture. Xian Wuji was dead. Xian Tianwu could not accept everything. This time, it was not a fake death. Wherever the shooting sun arrows went, not even Xian Wuji's bones remained. Even his divine soul power could not escape. He was truly dead, and it was a death that no one could resurrect. Upon thinking of the possible rage from the Heavenly Emperor, Xian Tianwu's scalp felt numb. She called to Lei Yu, now you and I have no way out. Either we kill Qin Wushuang and seize the graceful spiritual bow, or we will go back and accept our death before the Heavenly Emperor." Lei Yu said with a trembling voice, "That kid would not dare to fight us head-on. He is restraining his fear of you and me. He did not go far. Let's chase after him." Chase. These two elite warriors at the Transformation Supreme Tao stage were also decisive people. They no longer cared about regret and sadness. Instead, They chased after Qin Wushuang without hesitation. Without the restraint of Luo Tongtian and Xian Wuji, they urged their full power, and their speed was much faster than before. In the sky, they searched for Qin Wushuang's remaining presence and chased after him. They only had one thought, and that was to kill Qin Wushuang and seize the graceful spiritual bow. Only in this way could they atone for their crimes and exchange their lives before the Heavenly Emperor. Beneath the Phoenix Mountain, it was a complete mess. Countless spiritual beasts were still endlessly terrified. They looked at the sky in panic, and their eyes revealed endless fear and lingering fear. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please log on to www.chijian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 730. The pursuit was not as simple as they had imagined. After a few days of pursuit, they felt despair because they had lost Qin Wushuang's tracks. There were no tracking talismans, no clues, and not even the slightest clue. Currently, Xian Tianwu no longer had the slightest trace of her previous high spirits. Instead, it was replaced by a dispirited feeling of a defeated rooster. At this moment, Lei Yu did not wish to push away the responsibility to blame Xian Tianwu. It would be useless to blame Xian Tianwu now. At this point, it would be useless to blame each other. Daoist Tianwu, I must admit that you and I have already lost that kid. Lei Yu's tone was filled with bitterness. Xian Tianwu's somewhat beautiful face was now filled with a form of distortion. She almost ground her silver teeth into pieces. Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang. How did such a monstrous figure emerge from the Qin clan? You and I at the Transformation Supreme Dao stage cannot track him? Could be this kid is already at the Supreme Dao stage and is deliberately pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Lei Yu did not know whether to laugh or cry. I already said that this kid's changes are endless and cannot be speculated with common sense. Dao is Tianwu. Now, I am worried that if we do not take out this kid now, it will be difficult to take him out when he appears again. This time, His Majesty did not chase after him personally and sent you and me. He still underestimated him. With an ashen face, Xian Tianwu must admit this fact. Regardless of her or this Lei Yu, they could definitely defeat this Qin Wushuang in a head-on confrontation. However, for such pursuit, without the help of external power, it would be impossible to keep this Qin Wushuang. This person was too monstrous. Lei Yu, you know the temper of the Heavenly Emperor. How should we explain when we return? Xian Tianwu pulled her head of fine black hair painfully. When she thought of Xian Wuji's death, she felt a burst of heartache. She even doubted whether it was a rational choice to become enemies with the Qin clan. With such a monstrous figure emerging from the Qin clan, in the future, it would definitely be a great nightmare to the Xian clan. Lei Yu gave a long sigh. We can only find an excuse. Or else, you and I will surely die when we return. Daoist Tianwu is the sister of His Majesty. Perhaps it will be better. I cannot escape the responsibility. I know His Majesty's personality. If he wants to kill you, certainly he will not forgive me. This was the so-called fairness on the surface. However, he is in need of people right now, so he might not kill us. I was only worried about whether he would pursue the matter. However, as you said, we need to find an excuse. How do we make up this excuse? Lei Yu smiled bitterly. It's simple. Let's just say that when we were chasing this Qin Wushuang, suddenly a divine beast appeared and restrained you and me. It allowed Qin Wushuang to kill Wuji and that Luo Tongtian. Xian Tianwu's brain worked quickly. However, Lei Yu said, there are a lot of spirit beasts in Phoenix Mountain. They all saw the battle. I'm afraid it won't be easy to make up a lie. You don't have to worry about that. The cultivation of the spirit beasts in Phoenix Mountain is ordinary. They won't be able to see what's happening in the air. This excuse was very plausible. As long as you and I keep our mouths shut. Lei Yu sighed. At this time, if I don't bite my tongue, I won't be able to get over it. Let's just say that. Through the observant finger J plate, Qin Wushuang saw that Xi and Tianwu and Lei Yu had given up their pursuit. In other words, he had escaped the crisis. Although he felt slightly relieved inwardly, he did not reveal an ecstatic expression. These two cannot catch up to me. I think they must be badly battered, right? Since Xi and Wuji is dead, how can they report back? Haha, for this difficult problem, I will let the Xian clan deal with it. It's best if there is a great internal conflict and make it impossible for Xi and Tianwen to execute his attack plan. If there are no major sects to rely on, without so many Supreme Dao elite warriors stepping out, just one Xi Tianwen and one Heavenly Emperor Gate, the Qin clan can deal with them. When Qin Wushuang shot Luo Tongtian and Xi Wuji, it could be said that he had obtained a complete victory in this battle. He summoned the two spiritual beasts and asked about the attack. After hearing the result of the battle, Qin Wushuang was also incredibly happy. The degree of attack on the Sound of Thunder sect and the Heavenly Punishing Villa was not less than the Heavenly Emperor Gate. Naturally, this formed a tremendous strike to these three sections. At the same time, it could intimidate those three neutral sections. It could be said that he had achieved his strategic goal. Qin Wushuang thought inwardly, currently, this is all I can do. I hope the headquarters of the Qin clan can stand firm. The fate of the Qin clan is the fate of all clansmen. Before I came to the Qin clan, everyone has been working hard for the future of the Qin clan. If the heavens have eyes, please protect the Qin clan. When he arrived at the Tortoise King Mountain, Qin Wushuang made sure there were no tracking or spies. Then, he quietly entered the mountain cave and regrouped with Murong Su and the others. During these days, Murong Su had been in a state of fear. Although he had already learned about the recent situation through his spiritual perception, when he saw Qin Wushuang with his own eyes, he still felt much more at ease. Boss, powerful. Now even elite warriors of the Transformation Supreme Dao stage cannot do anything to you. Ha ha ha. It seems that only that Xi and Tianwen can make you restrain your fear, right? Qin Wushuang was not this optimistic. Bao, do not underestimate the Transformation Supreme Dao stage. In a head-on confrontation, even if I have the graceful spiritual Bao, it's impossible for me to resist them. If I am attacked from left and right, perhaps I will not even have the chance to escape. I was able to shoot Luo Tongtian and Xi and Wuji because I used the appropriate tactics. Plus, I cheated with the Observant Finger Jade Plate. My true strength is still far inferior to those at the Transformation Supreme Dao stage. Yes, when you enter the Supreme Dao stage, you will not be afraid of them. Boss, are we going to the Endless Eastern Sea now? Bao asked. Qin Wushuang nodded. I have been looking forward to the Endless Eastern Sea for a long time. Haha, this time it has been delayed for too long. Initially, one only needs to possess the profound Void Martial stage to activate the formation. Currently, Qin Wushuang had clearly surpassed the profound Void Martial stage. If he had not been delayed by some matters, he would have already gone to the Endless Eastern Sea. Now, he could use this opportunity to see if there were any new fortuitous opportunities at the fifth loop of the Seven Deadly Arrays formation. Each time the Seven Deadly Arrays formation was activated, it would bring many surprises to Qin Wushuang. This time, of course, Qin Wushuang had reason to look forward to it. It was because the master of the formation mentioned that for each level of this formation, certainly the circumstances and surprises would reach a higher level. Everyone, sit on this formation. I'll activate it. The two of them and the two beasts sat on the stone formation. Qin Wushuang activated the divine light and used the same method to activate the formation. Just like the transportation method in the past, it sent them directly into the transportation channel. They didn't know how much time had passed, but when they came back to their senses, the divine light had already dissipated, and the place they were in was another world. The Endless Eastern Sea. Truly, they had arrived at the Endless Eastern Sea. Although they were in a mountain cave, the exotic atmosphere was fully displayed, even in this mountain cave. There is nothing special about the setup of each loop of the Seven Deadly Arrays formation. However, to Murong Su, It was the first time he had experienced the miraculous aspects of this formation. Naturally, he found it to be extremely novel. Brother Qin, does this formation have a total of 7 levels? Yes, the 7 Deadly Arrays formation has 7 levels. However, I don't know what the 6th and 7th levels look like. Perhaps the 6th level is only the continuation of the 5th level. However, according to the hint from the master of the formation, the 7th level should have surpassed the level of the first 6 levels. It should be the core of the entire formation. It's too miraculous. I really don't know who set up such a powerful formation that could cross so many forbidden spiritual zones. It's incredible. Morong soon knew deeply that to have such a method, it must be a supreme power of creation. Or else, how could the creation of the transportation formation exist through the forbidden spiritual zones? However, Bao Bao laughed. Boss, the first 3 loops of the 7 Deadly Arrays formation are all in the human countries. The 7th loop is the most special place. This way, only the 4th to 6th loops are in the forbidden spiritual zones. The 4th loop is in the Xian Yuan Mound, and the 5th loop is in the Endless Eastern Sea. Then, which forbidden spiritual zone do you think the 6th loop will be in? Only 2 of the 5 forbidden spiritual zones have appeared. The remaining 6th loop must be one of the 3. Qin Wushuang laughed. There will be a hint when you activate the formation. Sit on the side and don't move recklessly. Be careful of the formation's attack. Morong soon knew the depth of the situation. He took Bao Bao and Lone and sat on the side quietly. With the experience from the previous loops, Qin Wushuang easily found the core of the 5th loop. He initiated his spiritual qi and activated the formation instantly. Initially, the lowest requirement for this 5th loop was to be at the profound void martial stage. Qin Wushuang was already at the exquisite mysterious boundary stage. Naturally, the speed of activating the core of this loop was much faster than he had imagined. That familiar and ancient voice sounded again. Lucky one, congratulations. Since you were able to reach this 5th loop, it means that your strength has already reached a higher level. You are qualified to break into the high-end world of the Tianxian land. Perhaps you are at the profound void martial stage. Perhaps you're already at the perfect void martial stage, or even higher. These are not important. The higher your strength, the more advantageous it will be for you. However, please remember, the next loop is also the most crucial one besides the 7th loop of the 7 Deadly Arrays formation. It is set at the Heavenly Fire southern border. You must never go without being at the Supreme Tao stage. Different than the previous loop, this loop had given this warning from the beginning. Clearly, this warning was extremely important. Qin Wushuang felt apprehensive as he thought inwardly. Only those at the Supreme Tao stage can explore the Heavenly Fire southern border. It seems that the 6th loop of the Heavenly Fire southern border is extremely important. At the same time, it is also extremely dangerous. After a pause, that voice continued to speak. When you arrive at the Endless Eastern Sea, compared to the Xian Yuan Mound, to human martial artists, the degree of danger has increased by at least 5 times. Therefore, for this loop, the first gift for you is a set of Supreme Tao armor to replace the original Azure armor. A set of Supreme Tao armor? It seemed that he did not need the reward. For the Supreme Tao armor, Qin Wushuang had already acquired one when he won the championship at the Illusion Heavenly Lake. Of course, one would never complain about having too many of such good things. This loop was prepared for the profound void martial stage. Initially, the Supreme Tao armor was extremely precious. The reason why Qin Wushuang was not moved was because he had progressed too quickly. Additionally, he had already acquired a set of Supreme Tao armor and the Supreme Tao fruit that was even more precious than the armor. This way, he had such thoughts. The second one is a book called Forging Mysterious Record. It is a secret book that talks about the essence of the training of the Supreme Tao stage. Even Supreme Tao elite warriors would fight over it until their heads bled. As for the third one, it's a must for you to survive at the Endless Eastern Sea, the illusory water wheel. This object is a must for human martial artists to enter the endless Eastern Sea. Only this object can travel in the water as if it were flat ground. It can ignore the power of the endless Eastern Sea. There are 10 of these illusory water wheels. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang found it strange. Why would Tim be prepared? Could it be that the owner of this formation knew the future and knew that he would bring his friends? To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.qijian.com. More chapters, support the author, support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.